Yeah, sorry. I will not hear these effing Targaryens in a scene where Otto Hightower exists. Okay, I was like literally alone in a room yelling at my TV. Cyrax, eat him now.
You can't see that Otto's right. He's
Otto is
right. Otto is absolutely right. Okay, no, but Otto is
okay. Green stand being.
There we go.
I'm very sympathetic to the Greens. That will never extend to Otto.
Look, they didn't eat him, didn't he? Didn't they? They could have, but that's the thing. These rules of engagement, they're important. Remember what Otto says, legitimacy, listing down the list of things that is legitimate about their usurpation of the throne.
Yeah,
these
he needed
rules of
weed.
engagement.
That's what Aegon needs in the end. A list of things to be legitimate.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Vassals of Kingsgrave for episode 10, season 1, House of the Dragon, the season finale. We've just watched the episode, and we're going to be discussing it probably a little late, though, since people, I guess, have been discussing it for the last couple of days.
Thanks to some shocking incompetence at HBO's affiliates.
Something is afoot once again with HBO self-spoiling.
Rolling in like Luke at Storm's End.
So spoilers, by the way. We will be discussing spoilers for all of House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones and anything to do with George R. R. Martin. If he wrote something about his turtles, we might spoil that too. So just saying. All right, moving on. And football. Let's not get started with sports today. It's been a rough day. So my name is Adam, also known as drownedsnow, on the forums and the Discord, and I don't know, wherever you can find me. Today, I am joined by a crew of dragons, and mostly dragons anyway. We're not sure if they're blacks or greens or golds or I don't know, quartzite. I don't know. We're gonna find out. But let's introduce them here and get to hear their thoughts on the episode. Let's start with you, Bing. What did you think?
Me again. I'm first of all, again, as always, I proclaim neither side. I am always a supporter of Lord Truefire. We'll see who that is later on. Now, this episode is awesome. I think there is that weird Daemon thing, but Daemon as a character continues to sort of confound me throughout this series, and we'll see what the payoff for that specific the two scene that he was central in this episode. We'll see where that goes because it stood out weirdly. I think the episode's probably still a 5 out of 5 alone, maybe 4.75 depending on how you see it with the Daemon stuff. Otherwise, the Luke stuff very, very compelling. And I actually like the small change they made with Aemond in that scene, which we can talk about. Others may disagree, and I really appreciate actually what they did with Rhaenys and Corlys. Well, more Rhaenys than Corlys this episode.
All right, yeah, we'll get there. I have thoughts. Casey, what did you think?
Hey, so this is Casey, Blue-Eyed Queen on the internets. I give this, another 5 out of 5. This was great. I'm excited for the next season and kind of can't wait for the next season, so they better get on with it. I hope it's not. I'm wondering now, like, how long it's going to take for the next season. But yeah, everything about it was awesome. The last scene with Luke dying was pretty sad, but interesting. Kind of wondering. I guess like the only other thing is like how did they find out that Luke died? Did somebody like find him like floating in the ocean or like?
I said that.
Greg.
I said that.
They have the whole of the Valyrian fleet. Come on, guys. Yeah, I don't know.
Left, I will say.
Someone found him pretty quick, or maybe Aemon was like, "Send a raven. This is where he's at."
I think like the corpse of the dragon washes up.
Yeah, it just
okay.
because it cuts so quickly. It feels like they got the news like a minute later, but I mean, who knows? So
yeah, I'm excited for Metal Rhaenyra to kind of take on the rest of the war now. I think it made sense for her to kind of be like the let's wait a minute type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I think that this is going to be interesting going forward. I'm excited.
all right, awesome. Thank you, Casey. Yeah, it was a big finish. So what did you think, David? You're joining us on DragonCast for the first time, so maybe introduce yourself to anyone who hasn't, isn't familiar at this time point.
So I'm David HHH on the Discord forums and wherever else. I previously was a Kraken and then a wolf, and I'm filling in tonight as a dragon so I can get my Vok EGOT, which I think only a few of us have at this point, where I've done all the showcasts. And in any case, I thought I'm going to give it a 4.5, a 4 for the first 3/4 of the episode. It was all good, but not a lot happened. So it was still good though, and compelling television. And I do like where they're going with Rhaenyra, but for the last 15 minutes gives a solid 6. So I'm giving it a 4.5. That was a great end of the episode. And we finally got some dragon action.
All right. Yeah. 4.5. That's pretty good. Well, I mean, we've gotten some kind of tease dragon action, but our first bit of dragon on dragon. Yeah. All right. So Katie, what did you think?
I'll give it a 5 out of 5. I spoiled myself on some of the more controversial scenes before the episode came out. I am kind of angry now at how I let the online fervor kind of get into my head. I was really worried about this episode before I went in. I was kind of having to talk myself into a bargaining stage of grief where I was like, no, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Yep. But watching this episode, I thought it was great. I thought it was very patiently paced. I thought that birthing scene, Emma D'Arcy did an amazing job. I thought it was great, and I thought the dragon chase was phenomenal. It was very thrilling to watch. It was a good finale to the season, and it makes me very excited for next season, which we're not going to get for a very long time.
Right.
All right, Stephanie, what'd you think?
I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the dragon chase scene. But I was waiting the entire episode for Rhaenyra to deliver the line of, they stole my crown and murdered my daughter, and now they will answer for that. So I was kind of watching the episode, waiting in anticipation for that. But that last look from Emma D'Arcy said it all. So yeah, I'm satisfied.
All right, Michal, what did you think?
Still processing. I think it had some finale-itis in that a lot of stuff happened, and it wasn't as necessarily elegantly constructed as I feel like some of the other episodes were. So I'd probably stick it at if there's a line on a measuring cup under 3 or 4, between 3 and 4, it's just under 4. And that's as scientific as I can get it. But yeah, no, I thought overall it was really good. I did really like the first part. I thought that, I feel like a lot of the time we interpret actors screaming and crying in pain as good acting automatically, but I really thought that Emma D'Arcy did an astonishing job when in the birth scene, especially in the actual moment of the baby's birth. And then watching Rhaenyra wrap the baby up herself and have that moment with the baby, and yeah, it was that was I got genuinely really emotional watching that. I don't love all of the Velaryon stuff. They kind of like they seem very like wavery to me. It's like their opinions change based on kind of what the tension needs to be in the episode. So I didn't love that, especially Rhaenys. Like I didn't get why she was kind of refraining from choosing a side, but then she was like, actually I've chosen a side, husband, and this is it, and this is where we're going. And yeah, I mean the ending scene was really sad. Yeah, like Rhaenyra turning around like that was like, oh shit, like we're about to see like exactly who Rhaenyra is when you scour away, you know, her id, I guess. Yeah, it was wonderful. It was a quieter end than I anticipated, but I don't know. I think it was a solid cap to the season. Not my favorite episode, but definitely something that I think the problems with it will probably fade over the year and a half that we have, and like by the time we watch
2 years, 3
season
years.
2 episode 1, we'll be like, oh cool, like whatever.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was not the beat that I expected to like cut to black on. I also, until the last couple episodes, wasn't really expecting them to do Luke this season. But it was definitely a good way to end the season on it. And I do. We'll talk about it when we get to the scene, but I did think the Valyrian stuff was weird too. And I guess in my head, the only way to kind of rationalize it is that, like I think she said earlier, it's like it's not my choice. Like she's like waiting basically for her husband. So like when she doesn't kneel, when she kind of refuses to kind of commit, she's like, well, that's Lord Valyrian's call. I don't know. Yeah. What did you think, Ben?
Hey y'all. I really enjoyed this episode. I was also sent the leak and told some things, and I didn't watch it. I waited till today to watch it because I don't know. I wanted to do it with other people that I generally did it with. Yeah, I stayed strong.
Yeah, you stream the episode every week, right? You kind of guys have like a live watch.
We have a live watch where we all watch it and mooch off of HBO in a way that is probably bad, but I don't really care. Anyway, episode's good. I would probably give it a 5 out of 5. It's the best Game of Thrones related finale we've had in a long while. I don't know, like 4 or so seasons, I would say. So I really enjoyed it. I think all the stuff with specifically Luke. I think Luke, his actor, put a lot of work in this episode, and I mean, I know they're making up for a lot of time in that they're not able to give him a lot of time beforehand. But with that time, he put in the work, and it showed. I was very sad when he died. Otherwise, I was happy to see the nuclear smokestack that is Storm's End, and I like the Daemon stuff. I have a lot of thoughts on it, and we'll go into it when we get there. But my general take is that we're seeing episodes 1 through 3 Daemon bleed into himself more, a person that like is letting all the bad, toxic things that they've started to work through back into themselves when dealing with grief. That's my general take, and that's very, very fast, I know, for this episode coming out right now, but that's kind of what I got out of it. But yeah, good episode. 5 out of 5.
You're here. 5 out of 5. Excellent. What do you think, Matt?
Y'all already know. It's a goddamn 5 out of 5. To be fair, the beginning of the episode is a little chaotic, but pretty much from the stillbirth and then the crowning onward, it's just fucking phenomenal. And just a real, another real standout performance by Emma. Storm's End, we finally see it in all its glory. It looks fantastic. That the painted table is fucking dope. And Rhaenyra's theme, by Ramin, has been by far my favorite piece of the score throughout the first season. So to kind of get that conclusion of it in full force, and the turnaround of Rhaenyra, a real Targaryen, was just fantastic. No complaints.
All right, awesome. I am kind of loath to give this episode a rating, given that it's kind of how it punctuates. I do think I agree with what Ben said, that this is probably one of the best finales of a season we've had in a good while. And with Game of Thrones, a lot of times the best episode was episode 9 anyway, or the second to last episode of any season. So I think that's not the case here, obviously. But I don't know, that they did everything that I kind of wanted to do. I didn't hate anything. I do think the choice to kind of soften Aemon is kind of works, and it also kind of is off-putting at the same time. I'm not sure how I feel, but I do like the whole thing where they couldn't control their dragons, and that's kind of part of that. So I don't know, I'll give it a 4.5. I think it was a really solid episode. The entire last sequence was exhilarating, especially as soon as they got above the clouds. I was like, it was beautiful, and then it was super tragic. So we also know that Lord Grover is fickle, and just a lot of things happened. So let's dive into it. So the first scene here, as we mentioned, we get the Dragonstone, the painted table. With Lucerys just kind of hanging out, and if anyone doubts that he's got Targaryen blood, he don't want it. He doesn't want Driftmark, so he doesn't think he's worthy. He's not into it. Various things, and then Sir Laurent lets them know that Rhaenys has arrived on Dragonback, and then it's time for labor. Basically. Once she gets the news of what's happened in King's Landing, and while she goes off to labor, Daemon starts his planning, and Jace kind of comes and interrupts the council there. So what do you guys think? Is this about what we figured would happen after last week? Rhaenys was going to drop down and say, "Hey, they've taken the throne." The labor, I think, kind of went pretty quickly, but
it really affecting, just as a portrayal of shock and the sudden onset of grief. I thought that was really effective, and kind of put me in a really emotional, it primed me emotionally. Well, first of all, because they were just blatantly emotionally manipulating us with look at pure sweet Luke. But then I thought Rhaenyra and Daemon's reactions to the news were both really fascinating, and there are people talking in my background, so we'll mute at the moment.
Him standing at the table while she's screaming his name is very tough to watch, but also just it completely makes sense with his character in that he this is how he reacts. He the way that he's going to deal with the situation is by preparing for war, and also he just does not he's not emotionally capable of attending to his wife, who is going through a difficult labor and may die from it. But yeah, it was just a very affecting scene to watch, and I was like, oh man, are they going to show is the dragon baby going to have a tail or wings? And unfortunately, they did not show us its dragon-esque features, so that was a bit of a bummer, but otherwise it was...
Yeah, we were all waiting for that. It's what's it going to be?
Yeah, it was very graphic.
Yeah.
The baby coming out was... I was not expecting to see that much for that long. Right. It was very tragic and very graphic.
It looked a little bit monstrous, I think. I think they didn't commit to full-scale dragon baby, but it looked a little bit off.
I don't know. Most babies, when they come out, look kind of monstrous. I mean,
Yeah,
I've
it's
seen
true.
a lot of newborns, and you're like, it's an alien.
I didn't
And then,
get a
like,
good look at
a
it,
minute later, it's fine.
but I did like how like she portrayed like her desperation to like just be done with it. That she was just like kind of like as soon as the head, came out, it looked like she was trying to pull the baby through and like to just like yank it out
Mhm.
instead of just like letting it come more
I
gracefully.
mean, she realized it was dead, right? She
Well,
realized that
yeah,
the
but
baby
like
wasn't going to.
also
So she just was like, get it out.
right,
It
but
was
if you yank
brutal.
right, but like yanking like all that out, like that like I've never given birth or anything, but that doesn't seem like a very wise thing to do, medically
Probably not.
speaking.
Probably
And
not.
also, I did like how she just like screamed bloody murder at the maester and didn't let him near her, and also just like her like like how like like paranoid and how she's not letting even the midwives touch her. It's just like a harbinger of like her later paranoid state that's just going to be her downfall later.
I didn't take that as paranoia. I took that as her being grief-stricken. I think she doesn't even want people like near her that aren't maybe her sons or Daemon right now. I think she genuinely is so stuck in grief and childbirth at the same time that she is incapable of dealing with anything in the situation, level-headedly, which I mean, hey, understandable.
No, it is
I-
kind of like a stress, like I'll do this all by myself, and then like damn whoever else or
But
whoever
don't you
is
think
even trying to
part
help
of it
me.
is from the way her mother died and just kind of past? I mean, they mentioned that she's given birth 5 times before, and so it's not like she's new to this. But like when things kind of go wrong, it doesn't. She's seen that it doesn't always go well for the women. So
That's
like maybe that's a
certainly
bit of it.
fair. Yeah, I don't know. I think she would. I might agree if she'd like let the midwives near her, but like the idea that she wouldn't even let them near her is kind of like.
Right.
I mean, they've some of these women have coached her through all of them. I
Yeah.
have to think there's a level of like trust and like genuine love probably there, like on a I don't know,
I
friend
think
level.
I think they're just trying to get across that this is a very difficult and traumatic birth, and it shouldn't be like it
Mm.
shouldn't be this bad. Like childbirth is bad, but there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And also, I think as someone who's been like in an excruciating amount of pain, sometimes you just don't want people to touch you.
Mm.
You can't deal with it. Overstimulation.
You'd rather inflict the pain yourself because you can kind of control it at that point.
Yeah.
I think it was telling though that like, I mean, just a tiny detail, but like she mentions to Viserys like right after she gives birth to Joffrey that she thinks she called the midwife the C word, and like obviously she has some kind of bond with these women, and like the fact that they know that it's going wrong, and the fact that they all start crying when the baby comes out, like it was really deeply visceral. I felt from like every angle, and also just different than I feel like birth is usually portrayed. Like I too have never given birth, but like I feel like the stages of it and like the process of like the physical baby leaving the body was really, yeah, it felt like not just that the baby was dead, but it felt like kind of the second loss that Rhaenyra was about to experience.
Meanwhile, I was like, oh, they just need to like move it around a little bit. It'll be fine. Like
just do the maneuver. Just flip it.
Well, I remember her giving birth, but I didn't realize it was a stillbirth, or it might have been Aegon in the book. I don't remember. Yeah, it's those three, and then Aegon and Viserys for Daemon's kids. But yeah, no, it was gruesome to watch. I know that there's going to be like a bajillion thought pieces about like comparing this to episode 1 and the forced C-section, so I'm just going to say up front that this was more okay for me than the forced C-section. It was awful, but
right.
it didn't to me, it didn't feel like as mutilating, I guess.
How much of the baby did we see in the first episode? I don't know. I feel like we got a longer shot here. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't.
It was all very gruesome.
Yeah, no, it's all of it's awful, but
yeah.
I will say,
yeah,
the amount of childbirth we have had in this season of this show is like, wow. If you think about it, like comparing it to GOT and any one season or any 2 seasons, I think it falls kind of flat in the amount of childbirth alone we've had, which makes sense because they're pretty big families, but still kind of weird to think about. But I think it's a good highlight for the show.
The childbirth has been used, especially with the passage of time, so they've allowed that to happen. But there's been a lot of time dedicated to pregnancies and births, and it's important. I mean, that's kind of
it's showing how women can be hindered from leading in this sense. Like that's the main reason that people
here she's sidelined, right?
They're saying that men can lead better than women, and that's a prime example. Rhaenyra was not able because she was having her child, and stuff like that.
So that guess that kind of leads into the whole Daemon's plotting. He took charge so quickly there. How did we feel about like when Jace comes and he just says, "Hey, the queen basically says, ain't nothing going down," and he's like, "Yes, keep sending the ravens. Come with me. We're about to go threaten some Kingsguard."
Well, to be fair, he does basically you can send the ravens, but there's nothing else that's going to happen. You're not going to River Run right now, and he does actually not go for it. To be fair to him, yeah, I don't know. I liked the friction between Jace and Daemon here, in showing that Jace is not gonna back down right off the bat from Daemon, who is fairly terrifying as a person, in my opinion.
On the other hand, he doesn't actually do anything.
Yeah, I think
he repeats himself. That's about it.
Well, to be fair, he doesn't go to River Run. That's the thing he's saying he's going to do.
Right. Like I said, instead he's like, well, let's test the loyalty of these Kingsguard with my dragon. That'll be some good bonding time.
Yeah, that was a dumb scene, I'm just gonna say.
From his perspective, that's why he's here. He is here at Rhaenyra's side to be her champion in the field and to enforce her claim.
Right.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I just the Kingsguard thing was a little weird because you don't need dragons to. I don't know. You don't need the dragon to be like, okay, pledge loyalty or burn. You could just, pull out your sword or have other people, or I don't know. It's like putting a point on it, I guess, mostly for Jace and that scene. And who were those two? One of them was Sir
Laurent and Stefan Darklin.
Right. Okay. And then we get later, either Eric or Arik, whichever one it was.
Question?
that ran away.
Question? Yeah. Who are all those people around the table? I got the name Florence for one of the Kingsguard, and I think I heard Stefan Darklin. So sure.
No. Lord Marbrand.
Marbrand. Okay.
Yeah. And then I know Bartemius is mentioned, Celtigar, the one that will eventually die very famously in King's Landing.
That will lead up again to my long-running complaint of there's too many random people.
This is Game of Thrones. There's going to be too many random people.
I kind of love that. One of the things I hated about Game of Thrones was that they stopped having random people, so it was literally just the same 5 people talking to each other about every conversation, even when they had no business knowing anything about it.
I get it, but the problem going forward. So again, this is something that we'll see what happens with that. But I think going forward, the problem is some of these people actually do important things, but the only thing that we know about them is that they're sort of there for a while, and we just got used to the sight of them, but we don't actually know their character.
Right, you'll get the name right before they die.
Yeah, that's what happened to the twins. That they suddenly see them sort of in episode 8. Suddenly, episode 9 is super important.
They shouldn't be important. It kind of annoys me that they are.
To be fair, they could just. I mean, like in general, they're just like I take them as landed knights and minor nobles that like exist.
Yes, and that's essentially what they are. The problem is they are on the screen so much, and I don't have any strong feelings about any of these people.
Well, as I said last time, we need name tags. I think that them wearing like house colors or sigils maybe a little bit more prominently would help, so that at least you can go, oh, look, that's someone from this house or that. I don't know. I think that might help because we don't have time to really, flesh them out, most of them. But you need to have these people there because if Dragonstone was empty and had no one from around the realm, like. Yeah, what her claim would be way worse. You're like, what's even happening?
I'm not gonna lie. I thought we were gonna see Westerling this episode.
That's what I was about to say. Is the Lord Commander Westerling is still AWOL?
Yeah, see, that's a character I would be fine very much seeing in this episode. That I can still sort of connect. I sort of know that character. I get him sort of.
I'm kind of wondering if the idea that he will be the shepherd is a thing. There's a theory out there that he'll be the shepherd when that comes, and I'm like, really? Okay. But I mean, him not showing up makes me think that it's more possible, I guess. I was expecting to see him with Sir Eric.
Or maybe they just haven't decided how they're going to use him, and they're like, well, we got a season to figure it out.
Yeah, that's also extremely possible.
No need to rush it, and then they go, crap, I wish we'd done something else.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, speaking of... Rhaenyra bleeds out, seems like she's bleeding out, pulls the baby out, seems like she's fine. Immediately afterwards, things move very quickly. And then we get the burial of the baby, and then Eric or Arik, whichever one, shows up with the crown. And,
I think it's Eric.
I think it is. And then everyone, I wrote Eric, ? But everyone kneels except for Rhaenys, very notably. And I think that Rhaenyra is kind of staring her down, but doesn't make anything of it.
I like Rhaenys not kneeling, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think,
hated it.
Really? I think that what they're going for is trying to be that, like, well, she can't make the decision right now. I don't know if I agree with that, but...
I mean, I don't buy that at all, because they still don't know what state Corlys is in, really. And, like, I felt like they were just... I mean, if the Velaryons are a bit of, like, a weather vane, then, like, she was the worst part. And I love Eve best, and I thought she was fantastic in the previous episodes, but, like, she just had this little smirk on her face sometimes, but she's, like, literally, like, busted out of King's Landing to go deliver this message to the... Like, I feel like you've effectively chosen a side.
Yeah, I agree with you, Michal.
Didn't work.
Yeah,
I agree with you, Michal. The Rhaenys has been very a little. Yeah, it's like I'm still mulling over end of episode 9, but like, yeah, this just like I thought they'd already like, just like done her character development in episode 8 of her accepting Rhaenyra's offer, just because Rhaenyra's kids aren't her grandkids, but Daemon's kids are her grandkids, and Daemon's hard in the tank, so like if her loyalty is to her blood, then there's no way
it doesn't change anything, right?
Right, there's no way that like she's or like if Daemon is the father of her grandkids, it was nice that Rhaenyra asked her permission for the marriage pact, but like theoretically she didn't need it, and the like it's good that she did, because that's that's a good way to bring her into the tent. But still, like I just like watching Vaimon's corpse, it's just, and then also it is a little odd that like she would after her talk with Alicent that she would wait for Corlys to come back to make a decision when like her entire talk with Alicent was about seizing your own power. And she's like, nah, I gotta wait for my husband to make a decision on this.
I'm convinced it sucked.
It was also just weird. A little bit like you're a member of House Velaryon and have been for a very long time. You should know when the ship has sailed.
You're a fucking dragon rider.
It's a counter.
Sorry, Dave, can I just say like one thing?
Yeah,
like I think it would have been more more complicated if she had been like, I'm actually not thrilled that I've been pushed into this decision, and I have a lot of issues with you, Rhaenyra, but like the chips have fallen where they have, as opposed to like her kind of playing coy and then being to Corlys like, oh no, Rhaenyra is awesome actually, we should totally join her side. This is totally great. Like, yeah.
I just can't say it. I need you to say it.
Yeah.
I feel like that they're
it's
kind of.
weird.
I feel like they're kind of going away with both Rhaenyra and Rhaenys, that they're on kind of the same feeling of that. While they both kind of want to do this, they both think that war with dragons is dangerous for the realm. I mean, because remember, the last episode ended with her about to theoretically roast everyone, and then she decides, no, wait, I don't want to do this, when she looks at Alicent and says, no, maybe peace is a better solution. And I feel like that's why she doesn't want to take sides here, because she knows that war is bad for the realm and for the people of the realm, and that she's trying to do what's best for the people, which is what Rhaenyra is trying to do herself all through the episode until, the end. And I think that's one of the reasons why she eventually does decide to go for Rhaenyra, is because Rhaenyra is taking that same point of view she has when she says, no, I'm going to wait and like, let's see what happens. Let's take this slowly and try to do it the most peaceful way we can. That's when she actually decides, yeah, I like her. I'm going to back her because she wants what's best for the realm, not just for herself, which is what I think they're going for.
I guess maybe they wanted to save that exposition for the audience where she tells Corlys, like, hey, she's over here trying not to go nuclear. And I guess maybe they felt that's the only way that they could get that out. I don't know.
I think, no, I'm not necessarily to defend the scene. And not even really, I don't think it's to counter what Michal and Stephanie have said. But more to walk through the logic, I think what they are trying to do is sort of, Rhaenyra has to win Rhaenys over to her side. And it's not necessarily, sure, Rhaenys broke away from the Greens in the last episode, but that doesn't mean that was just her protesting her being imprisoned against her will and being forced to take a side. This is from showing her actually trying to make some decision. Now, I agree that there probably should be more scenes with her. I think there definitely should have been more scenes with Corlys to work out their decisions a little bit more. And that was what was lacking.
Yeah, but dude's been gone for a long time.
Well, they could have showed the dude a bit more.
I think the point that like they still believe that she has something to do with their son's death on some level is not like to be overlooked. I don't know how you can necessarily get past that in one breaking out of a dragon pit where you've been already imprisoned beforehand and forced to witness a coronation against your will.
You can get past it the same way that Corlys gets past hearing Daemon chopped off his brother's head very quickly.
To be fair, the situation that they're told, Daemon was going to die anyway.
No, I know. He's like, idiot.
Yeah, I feel like they never got along anyways. So
yeah, Daemon kind of dug his own grave, honestly.
Well, also, and I mean, when she presents
Corlys is a man of action.
Daemon was trying
just
to usurp
complains.
him. So, yeah. Anyway, we'll talk more about that in a minute because it does kind of tie into the war table here. We get the beautiful lit up painted table. I think is this the first time we've seen it lit up like that? They didn't do that in Game of Thrones, did they?
No.
I didn't think so. Yeah,
No, they didn't know.
Really
they didn't know how the candles worked, and Stannis didn't know.
Stannis had sex on it. Yes,
kind of really my headcanon now.
Stannis is a famous aversion to fire. If you guys didn't know this is a little known book fact for the book owners out there. Stannis is not a fan of fire.
But I can see a lot of woodworkers making up, mock-ups of this with lights in them and stuff. Oh yeah, I would.
We need it. And I know,
would be my gaming table.
If we put it in the bookstore, Greg said that it's going to cause injuries, but I don't care. I need it.
I have
merch. We need the merch.
I have a friend that owns a painted table that they made, and I think he'll probably be on this, wanting to try and figure out a way to do this. It was beautiful. I'm sure in the behind the scenes thing they've been doing after every episode, maybe they'll give us a little more detail on how that worked out. So we do hear about them accounting, for the dragons and the what lords might be on their side, and of course at one point they're like, "We got Mellies," and then
as we've been discussing, Rhaenys is like, "Oh, you do." And then they talk about Lord Grover, how he's fickle, like all the Muppets are. And Daemon's like, "I'm gonna deal with him. Don't worry about it." And then they talk about how they need to go chat with the Starks, the Baratheons, but that gets interrupted because there's a ship flying a green three-headed dragon, and it turns out it's Otto. So that we get a redux of episode 2 on the bridge of Dragonstone, except this time instead of Caraxes coming out, it's Syrax, and the queen arrives with her crown and then just kind of walks right by Otto, and he offers his absolutely terrible terms. It mostly just sort of like, if anyone wants to come over to our side, it's cool.
The terms are pretty allowing until you get to the part where Aegon and Viserys will be essentially hostages. Yeah.
Yeah. And I could have missed this. I'd have to go back and rewatch it. But at one point, it was saying that like Viserys would become her heir.
No,
I didn't understand
They're
that.
saying Jace would be the heir of Dragonstone. Luke would be the heir of Driftmark. Aegon would be his squire, and Viserys would be the cupbearer.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to look at it again because I was shocked when I heard it and I wrote it down, and maybe I just misheard. It sounded like they were saying like, well, that little Viserys was going to be her heir, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense because then they mentioned Aegon a minute later. So maybe I just heard it wrong.
Stefan said Viserys too similar to Viserys.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
Those two names are very similar.
Okay, that could easily be it.
And there might have been an invention of King Viserys in there to complicate things.
There's too many. These effing Targaryens. They can't name the kids after others. Anyways,
okay, I'm sorry. I will not hear these effing Targaryens in a scene where Otto Hightower exists. Okay, I was like literally alone in a room yelling at my TV. Syrax, eat him now.
You can't see that Otto's right. He's
Otto cringe.
Otto is right. Otto is absolutely right. Okay, no, but Otto is
okay. Green stand being.
There we go.
Your green behavior
will never extend to Otto.
Look, they didn't eat him, didn't he? Didn't they? They could have, but that's the thing. These rules of engagement, they're important. Remember what Otto says, legitimacy, listing down the list of things that is legitimate about their usurpation of the throne.
Yeah,
these
he needed
rules of
me.
engagement.
That's what Aegon needs in the end. A list of things to be legitimate.
What's interesting is that he didn't put down there that Viserys changed his will at the last minute. They didn't mention that at all.
No,
yeah.
He just said, "Look, this was the plan from Word 1."
Look,
so
they didn't eat him, did he? Did they? They can't eat him.
Well, they
could, but Rhaenyra is trying not to escalate this.
Daemon would have.
Maybe foolishly.
No, so at this point, both sides are trying to manage who draws first blood, at least publicly. F for Lord Beesbury, but because it is right. Ben, you talking about appearances, and yeah, everyone is like with the War of Ravens. They are trying to they have so the Greens have as the first mover as seizing the first mover advantage with the coup. They then have to deliver the peace terms to at least appear reasonable, and and then the it's just like, well, it's like any first offer, it's not really worth anything, but then as the Blacks diplomats are saying, you need to appear to not go burninate everything by traveling under the peace banner. Yeah.
But you got to offer marriages, bro.
I know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at this point, all this important people have married off. I guess what Otto could have offered is to marry the sons of one of the daughters of Aegon. Aegon has a daughter now.
Jaehaera,
yeah.
Marry Jaehaera to
Aegon or Viserys.
Aegon or Viserys. Yeah, I think he could have shown that offer in, but well.
Yeah. Or
made it. I think a thing that possibly could have done it would be to make it a more mutual exchange. Aegon and Viserys, and Jaehaera maybe goes to Dragonstone as a way to I guess.
Oh
make
yeah,
it
it's all one way.
Yeah, it certainly is
Yeah.
all one way. And in like, okay, just give us your two youngest sons, and we'll keep them here on Dragonstone.
It's not even
or
just about the
at Kingsley.
hostages. It's that like they kind of want to put the dragon advantage on lock. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So
Right, and then in terms of like incomes, Dragonstone is kind of shit.
right.
Yeah, it's certainly not much in the way of
It's
income.
one of Stannis' key grievances.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why Stannis never shuts up about it.
I mean, even when it had
To be
dragons, like how
fair-
much income did dragons produce? Like none.
Well, to be fair, right now she did say
Actually,
like
they
affirming
eat the sheep, so they take away the value.
affirming Lucerys is right. So there is that in that like Lucerys will inherit High Tide.
Well, yeah. So what's really important about this thing for the audience, I think, is to set up what's going to come at the end. Because
Oh yeah, for sure.
that's how Aemon fucked up. And how Aemon actually knows he fucked up. That he broke the rules of engagement first.
Yep.
This is gonna be interesting. We're gonna get there. So before we get there, we have the other, I guess, controversial moment of the episode, where
There we go.
the Song of Ice and Fire is mentioned again, and Daemon says he's going to choke you out for what is this Song of Ice and Fire? I've never heard of this.
Dagger talk. Ew.
She doesn't even explain. Like he gets like I don't know. He gets mad and starts choking her out, and is like, "Well, Viserys, his dreams has nothing to do with it." And his line about how the dreams didn't make the house the Targaryen, it's the dragons. Well, I mean that's great, but I felt like maybe she could have explained the prophecy a bit, and then she would have been like, "Oh, he never told you." She just says "Song of Ice and Fire." Oh, he never told you, and he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." It was a little confusing.
He doesn't exactly give her a chance to explain.
Yeah, to be fair,
That's
it's
what
like
I'm saying. That's what I'm
off
saying.
the
It's like
bat,
he gets
he's-
angry over nothing. Like,
No, he
I think he's angry over her not like just letting him kill Otto outright, like off the bat.
that's part of it. I think
And then
I
it's
think
the
what-
fact that his
Can I-
brother shut him out again.
Katie.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think it's a scene of a husband and wife realizing that they're not alike. And that I think Daemon assumed that Rhaenyra was like him and had the same interest in like maintaining their foothold and like protecting their family as he does. And it turns out that she's more reluctant than him. And she thought that they both knew about the prophecy, apparently. They've never talked about it. But I mean, Daemon is a piece of shit. We all know this. It's not surprising that he's willing to hurt his wife like this. I think it goes a little deeper in that he is furious and about the fact that she sounds like his brother. Like what she is essentially proposing is that she is going to give their family over to the High Towers and for the foreseeable future, which is what Viserys did, and he can't deal with it. And
Oh, sorry.
no, I mean, like, his love is destructive, right? It's like, these people killed my brother, your dad, and you're not going to do anything about it? You're just going to let them lead our family by the nose the same way your dad did? Like, fuck this! I can't stand aside and let you do this anymore. Like, he wasn't going to ever choke out Viserys for doing that, but he sure as hell is going to choke out his wife. Like, it makes complete sense for the character as they've established him.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, and that also part of that is that like he's grieving for Viserys at the same time that he's really, really mad at Rhaenyra being like Viserys. So it's that very difficult combination for anyone of being sad that this person is gone, and even going to like they're unjustly gone, like that his first thing is like they murdered him. Yeah, so I don't know if you saw the state your brother was in. They didn't have to push far if they did. But like, I think, yeah, I just think that's a really painful combination. And someone like Daemon is just so not equipped to deal with that. Like he does just go to violence every time. And like, I think there's also probably like the trauma of like he has birth-related trauma in terms of what happened, to Lena and maybe even Emma. I don't know. I think there's a lot of layers that are going on in the manifestation of Daemon's villainy that make it more interesting, but I also don't think it's like at all out of character because he's a very violent person who wants to take whatever he wants.
Right. The ship is kind of just like a bodice ripper. And it's just like, it's always like part of the appeal is that like, or, you know, it's just like, it's always like the hanging possibility that something like this could happen. In the wedding feast scene, you know, like when it's at the part where like they almost kiss, he has her hands on her neck. And then it cuts to Viserys looking all concerned. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, like a man who is violent with everybody else in his life is not going to stay his hand when it comes to his family. It was just like a kind of like a ticking time bomb. Maybe not. I was kind of shocked that he did that, but I was like, okay, but that makes sense. Like he bashed his former wife's head in with a rock. He stomped on that guy. What else has he done?
In that context, it definitely plays. But come on, this is Daemon, y'all. Ladies love him.
I do think people forget like the Rhea Royce scene, and I'm like,
yeah.
To me, like it is a change from Fire and Blood, but I don't think it's an out of character change either.
No,
I don't think it's out of character now. Yeah,
it's very much. I think a lot of what like how Matt Smith talks about him and that he's fragile and everything that he does for his family is motivated by love. And I'm like, yeah, this reads as an abusive man who feels like he is trying to stop the woman he loves from doing something that he sees is profoundly stupid, and this is the only way he can do it because he just does not have the tools to, like the same way for the same reason he doesn't have the tools to go to her when she's going through her difficult birth. He just
there's
can't.
No one nearby to maim, so he just grabs her.
Yeah.
He can't like emotionally communicate that type of stuff to people. And so it's
so one thing that I thought was important with this scene was kind of thinking back to I don't know if it was an article or an interview, but I remember one of the directors was basically like, why does everybody like Daemon? Like that's insane. And I think that I think Matt Smith is kind of brilliant in making his character look so appealing because I think that, you know, that's what Rhaenyra fell in love with. And I think that he's very good at switching to that character that we saw more in previous episodes, where he's actually very violent and has a temper and can't control his anger sometimes. And so when we see him switch to that abusive person or that abusive act that he just did there, like, I think it shows that, like, you know, it's Rhaenyra's seen the like side of him that is good, and now she's seeing this directly at her. Like, what is she going to do with that? And also, I think it's just kind of showing how, like, he's a guy and he still wants to be in power in that sense.
Yeah, a lot of people are like woobifying Daemon, and like they're a little bit like, you know, oh, Daemon would never. It's like there is no Daemon would never. Daemon would anything in the right circumstance. Like, I actually, while I was watching that scene, I was like, I had this feeling he was gonna like hit her. So then when he choked her, I was like, oh, different than what I was expecting, but like not surprising. And you know, I am sad we didn't get Daemon sad on the beach. But like the fact that the show has like the fact that like this isn't the headline that people are talking about in terms of like House of the Dragon hates women, Daemon chokes out his wife, you know, is I think a testament to the way the show has textured Daemon and made us forget that he is capable of these kind of things. But he murdered Rhea Royce, so justice for Rhea Royce and never forget.
Honestly, I'm going to chalk it up to media literacy because just the people. I guess I'm Twitter poisoned, but people love to forget the stuff that Daemon does, and maybe it's just the inbuilt bias of being a fan pre House of the Dragon. But like, I've been infinitely suspicious of the man since the beginning, and yeah, that is the pre-built bias, I guess. But having showed this to like people that know nothing about it, they think he's an asshole too. So I don't quite get people that like.
But they still love him.
No. I mean, like they can like enjoy a scene with him, but I don't. Usually, it's not like the Twitter stan levels of people that defend his.
Oh, you mean people in real life?
Numerous.
Yeah.
Really awful shit that he does.
Yeah, the meme game and stuff. People are super into Daemon, and I'm like, I haven't actually met anyone that's super into Daemon. Other than like, oh, he's
They definitely
Daemon.
exist. They definitely
Yeah,
exist.
they exist.
The Daemira shippers, they are strong. They're a strong group of people.
Well, I mean, look, that's how we get the prince that was promised, baby. Come on. Come on.
I feel like this gets dangerous when those internet people then attack the person who said that they don't. Who I think it was the writer of last episode who said, "I don't get why everybody treats Daemon as their internet boyfriend."
Or when Millie Alcock and Emma Darcy both called him the character, a groomer, and people got upset about it.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah. So there's definitely. I feel like I think my problem with Daemon is I just never connect with that kind of character. It's just. I don't think Matt Smith is doing a bad job. It's just that kind of character repulses me fundamentally.
He's very charming. He's very handsome, and I think it's understandable that people are drawn to that. And I also think it's just totally fine for people to like be like, whatever. He's a fictional character. If I want to like lust after him, that's totally okay. Like you said, it gets into the issue when people are like going after other people and harassing them in a delusional way.
I just want to clarify something. Like, I don't agree with the writer being harassed at all, but like, I don't think it's just Daemon stans. It's like she did, like, essentially, like, try to justify Aegon raping the maids by saying he doesn't understand consent. No one sat him down and talked to him about consent. When, like, if like, just grabbed this maid and she was screaming, that's enough. Like, you can't really plead ignorance.
She was like comparing him to Daemon. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I feel like she said something a little bit more. There's a little bit more context to that, but I don't remember, so I won't go into that.
Yeah, and it's neither here nor there because we're still on this episode. Let's move forward, and we can circle back on Daemon's weirdness here in a minute. Because we finally get to see Corlys for the first time since Driftmark, I guess, right? And then we get the scene we talked about with Corlys and Rhaenys. She's like, yo, Rhaenyra's the best. And then they have the War Council and actually decide where they're sending people, Corlys voices his support, yada, yada, yada. And then they have to swear on a big-ass Bible before they get sent off. Which is a little weird. And then Daemon with the mystery dragon, who we decided was Vermithor. Is that right?
I think that's what we decided, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And that's our last section before the end.
I like the idea that Daemon is just like, well, I have no friends. Let me go make a new one in like one of the most dangerous.
My only friends are the dragons. Yeah, why has he been down here before? I mean, I guess he
must have
foreshadowed him with the eggs and like, are they friendly?
This is him being Targaryen. This is
right.
Throughout this entire series, one thing that is consistent, I do notice this about Daemon. He loves being Targaryen more than any other Targaryen. He's a target.
He bleeds fire, bro.
Yeah. He sings in Valyrian. Who does that?
Yeah, he's frustrated because he has his Targaryen wife, he has his Targaryen-looking kids, he's got his dragons, he has his like justification to use them, and the missus is not letting him. Mom and Dad are fighting, y'all.
I've got my toys, and it's finally time.
He's like, we're Targs. I want to be fire and blood. Let me be fire and blood.
Exactly. And he does mention here about when they're doing the dragon counting. He mentions that, well, the Greens only have 3 adult dragons. They sort of take out aside from the fact that they have the biggest adult dragon. And then he mentions, hey, there's the wild dragons. Like, who's going to ride those? I don't know, man. We'll figure it out. Like, we got access to dragons that they don't have.
Did you notice when they're listing off the dragons and they mentioned that Vermithor and Silverwing are still there and can get riders? It cuts to Rhaena, implying that she does not have a hatchling at this point still. Like, we kind of like theorized, like, what are they going to do with her? Because she gets sent away pretty early in the story before anything pops off. But if they have all these unclaimed dragons, it doesn't really make sense to keep her on the sidelines.
You don't think they're going to cut
Yeah.
out one of the seeds, do you?
I could see them. I mean, I could see them combining the two traders, Ulf and Hardhue, into like one uber douchebag. I don't know.
Or
Like,
just having her ride the other one?
yeah, I mean, they could incorporate her more if they wanted to, because otherwise she's just gonna disappear until the end of the show. You know?
Yeah. In the books, she's just gone in the veil, right?
Yeah.
And nothing happens to her.
I mean, they've been fairly faithful to the characters and the events, and so that's the kind of thing that makes me think, well, they're probably just going to send her off and she'll be gone. We might see something of her, but that's it. But I mean, I wouldn't oppose a change like that. I'm not sure if that's what they're going to do or not. Maybe they don't even know yet.
Yeah, I mean, like the way they cut to Reyna during that scene, it seems like, like his immediate objective is to like coax either Vermithor or Silverwing out. So like, I don't know, maybe Reyna could claim it, but like, like she doesn't want, or they don't want her to like go in all the tunnels in the volcano.
I mean, they have a scene. They make a point to have Rhaenyra like have Reyna come in and join them at the table. So I feel like
Right.
they kind of have to. Like I think that's their way of saying like she's a part of this. She's not going anywhere else.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
was-
also just like as far as the scene with the 7-pointed star, I did like that. Like Rhaenyra was giving her, speech about Targaryen supremacy, but by saying back to being appearances, that they need to appear to the other lords of the realm to be paying lip service to the Seven, and so that's why they swear on the 7-pointed star to not engage in any violence.
Yeah, it felt a little weird for a second. She's like, swear on this. And you're like, oh, right.
Shit
But
matters.
That's what you would do. Yeah, it's what you would do. So, well, there's no one else there at that moment, I guess. But still. It's so sad. The send-off for Luke is so sad. Just like, you be brave. Like, he'll be honored to welcome a prince of the realm. Like, yeah, if you've been the first one there.
I don't know. I feel like Baratheon. I don't know. Hard to convince.
Yeah.
But to go back for a sec, like just based on like the goodbye, it was really striking to me that like one of the first times we see the boy. It's not, but like when they're fighting, while Rhaenyra is giving birth and they're called to her, like Jace starts wailing on Luke, and like I almost felt in retrospect that was sort of a sense that like violence has just sort of bled through this family, like maybe partially inspired by Daemon. I'm not laying all of that at his feet, but like just the idea that they're not as, I guess, rational and peaceable and whatever, and especially Jace, who has seemed like a very restrained person in the past.
Yeah, that was not a part of their relationship.
I took that as not, something that's been like not just like a change of their dynamic over the years, but just Jace feeling the tension of the current moment and just trying to get that out through training and trying to, or like deciding that like playtime is over. We're in the real world now. We need to act like men, something like that, as opposed to like them learning at Daemon's knee for years and years to be as bloodthirsty and violent as possible.
No, I don't think that's what it was. I'm just saying, like, they don't know yet at that point. Like, that's when Rhaenyra calls them in to tell them that Viserys is dead. She's the queen. Also, might be dying. And, like, it just seemed like the tension had not built to a point where that would be the explanation to me. And, like, yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. It reminded me of Kristen Cole, I'll be totally honest. Like, it reminded me of...
it did, but I guess, like, they also, like, came back from that dinner party in, like really just, like, trading blows with their uncle. Like, I don't know.
Right. All of this is what, within 48 hours, let's say, of that dinner party, or
Yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Like they saw Viserys.
Yeah. Yeah, I do love. I guess we didn't mention this, but I do love that Daemon's first thought is like, the king was murdered, which is not outside the realm of possibility. But he was like, did anyone see it? Oh, he died. He died. Yeah, he was
It's an
murdered
assumption.
for sure.
It's just
Yeah.
his assumption.
Yeah, which there were rumors in the book. It's kind of like, is that what happened? The poisoning, all that.
That is the assumption he wants
It would
to
certainly be a possibility, but we know that's not what happened here.
Yeah,
so.
that's what he wants, because that gives him the
Right, that gives him
better
cause. Yeah,
excuse
absolutely.
to go to war. He really wants to go to war, guys.
And speaking of going to war, are we ready to get to the last scene, or does anybody want to talk about anything else before that? All right, moving on. So we finally get to Storm's End, and
Yay!
did we see Storm's End at all in
Never.
Game of Thrones?
Never.
I think it's never
don't believe
been
we saw it.
brought up.
The nuclear
so-
power plant was left unseen.
I thought that this was beautiful, sending the dragons off, and then finally seeing Arax for the first time here, and you
And
can
laugh.
see how much smaller he is than the others, and I was just like, beautiful white dragon. It made me so sad because I knew it was coming, but it was really beautiful shot, and then arriving at Storm's End, and it was very cold, very cold reception when he first gets there, announces himself, and then you get the shadow of Vhagar, and he's like, oh fuck,
Here we go.
yeah, this is not what we want. And then the whole scene plays out. He brings a message, but his uncle's already there off to the side with some lady near him, and he delivers the scroll, for which he screams for the maester, because I guess the maester's not nearby. Can Lord Baratheon not read? Is that what we're
Apparently.
picking from this? He's
That seemed
illiterate.
what they were going
That was
for.
the strong implication.
That's what I'm assuming. Unless he's just that lazy, like, read this and I don't want to. I can read, but I'm not into it. I need the audiobook.
Yeah, I was under the impression that's a what's it called? That's a thing from Fire and Blood / Princess and the Queen /
Is it? I didn't see. That's what I was asking earlier. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, that's that is one of the leading causes for the bunch of theories around the letter Rhaenyra sends to him. Yeah.
Huh.
Because
Interesting.
Maester reads it to him,
So little Jace, not so little now, I guess he's 14, almost a man grown in this world. I think after not wanting it and not kind of being that kind of guy, he does a pretty good job here of maintaining himself, even with now knowing that Aemon and Vhagar are there, and he's, maintains himself as a messenger. His uncle's like, look at my eye, I want your eye. Throws the damn dagger at him. He's like, you do it yourself. It's like, this is ridiculous. He draws his steel though, like he's ready to go. And they tell him, not in my hall, this isn't happening. When he gets outside of the court, like the storm is just going crazy, and there's no one out there, which I think he takes note of. And the dragon is not happy about it. We get a bunch of Valyrian dragon commands, that we haven't seen before. Shows that they actually have a fair bit of dialogue with these dragons.
Right.
It seems like they're in control. Seems like it. And then, of course, we get the whole him trying to find his way out with the shadow of Vhagar behind him, and the chase scene, which I thought this was really epic. Just the way it was shot. CG looked great. And then he breaks above the clouds, and especially if you're not a book reader, you might be like, "Oh, great! He's out. He's gotten out."
Right.
Beautiful shot here above the clouds, and then chomp.
There he is. Right.
And then of course we do get Rhaenyra gets the news. Fade to black. But probably the most interesting and somewhat controversial part of this scene is that both of them at some point lost control of their dragons. When Jace was hiding, it looked like he'd kind of made it out of the way, and maybe he could have just kind of scurried out without being noticed because he's a smaller dragon, can hide in the crevices. And Arax just goes for a strafing run on Vagar, and he's like, "No, obey me, stop it!" And then at that point, it's on. So he kind of provokes him, and Vagar's like, "Fuck that," and just chomp. And Aemon apparently did not want that. He wanted somehow to take the eye out. I don't know how he was going to like wrestle him and take the eye out. I don't know, or if he was just trying to be a shit. But it seems he did not want to kill his nephew. Yeah, nephew. I always have to remind myself the relations of these people. And he's kind of fucked up. So this seems like a change from the book, but maybe not.
Well, we don't really know. We don't know
know
what happened in the book, and in fact, there's a whole thing of like, is he really? Because his body is actually never found, and there's some rumors that like that he ate him, and there's others that he just disappeared at sea and stuff like that. We don't actually know what happened. In fact, no one even knows that in fact he was eaten by that he was attacked by the other dragon.
Well,
they just assume
the intent. I mean, yeah, the intent here to kill him, I think, is kind of the main thing that is assumed that
Or
this
seriously harm him at the very
yeah,
least.
like Aemon's gonna take him down. Period. Not like I'm just playing games and like, oh, I just killed the whole dragon in him. Oops.
I mean, it's very strong circumstantial evidence. You know, the last people saw both of them in the same room. Aemon was literally threatening.
And then he
Luke.
flies off after him, which I think one of the first bits of Princess and the Queen talks about. Like basically, as soon as he leaves, Aemon leaves right after him, and then he's dead.
Right, and
So-
Lord Baratheon subscribes to the Wyman Manderley style of guest right, just not under my roof.
Yeah, like get out of here,
Right.
get out of here.
Right, at least in the
True.
book, they make it sound like like he's really telling Aemon to just or giving
Don't do
Aemon
it.
license to go hog wild after or outside.
Right. Yeah. Like I can say that I didn't have anything to do with it. But man, it was hard watching the dragon in pieces and everything fall down.
Right.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
I think.
also-
Go ahead, Michal.
Oh, sorry. It's also great because like when you're watching, I guess it's Melis and whatever Jace's dragon's name is, and Arax take off from Dragonstone. Like they look
Correct.
pretty big, like they don't look like little baby dragons. And then like that lightning shot of Vagar when he lands is just like, oh,
Ugh.
there is a completely a different level of existence here. Yeah. And then like, oof, the way they echoed that, like with also you could see the shadow of Vagar. Like it was really, really scary.
Yeah, you see what Rhaenyra means by, when she objects to Daemon that, most of our dragons aren't battle tested. I don't think even Cyrax has battle experience.
No, I mean I
No.
think Rhaenyra is specifically known for not really going to battle with her dragon, and Cyrax.
Right.
I'm trying to think. I don't think
There's-
really
Yeah, I don't think she
ever did
takes the-
anything.
I don't think she takes the field during the dance even.
No.
Yeah, no. And I think of the dragons that it's just Caraxes and technically Sea Smoke, but I mean they don't actually have Sea Smoke at the time.
Yeah,
I
and I
think-
don't know if they haven't showed us like them training, like, all right, light this wooden target on fire, from the sky, or doing anything that would kind of prepare for this.
That's what I want, a training montage.
Same.
Dragon
Can we get a dragon?
montage.
I need
dragon. You must be swift as a coursing river.
That's right. You got to tie like a
Yeah.
a bandana on, and you got to like.
be a
I want to see a
Lord.
dragon pumping some Valyrian steel.
Yeah.
You must
fit.
bring the imperialism.
That's what
be
Sea
a
Smoke has been
dragon
doing.
lord.
Sea Smoke's just been waiting this whole time for a new rider, just over there getting swole.
Honestly, I
Yeah.
could totally see a Daemon training montage with all the dragons and
yeah.
having real live targets.
Dragon boot camp.
Yeah.
Fun
They
time.
just have captured corsairs from the Triarchy, like Dornishmen as well. Yeah, now line up and hit your target, Nettles. There you go. Give him another pass.
That's impossible, man. I need the targeting computer.
Yeah. So Hugh, good job, Hugh. Come on, Ulf, stop falling off the dragon.
Oh. Yeah, so Lord Baratheon's an ass.
Yeah, no, he follows renowned political theorist Janet Jackson with "What have you done for me lately?" being his MO.
Just to, I guess, go back to Aemond and the choice to kind of make Luke's death accidental. I think I said this earlier, kind of at the beginning of the podcast, where I think it'll be interesting where they go with it for season 2, because it gives him space to have an arc. Instead of just being evil from the get-go, I guess, or maybe like a gung-ho killer from the get-go. Like, he has a genuine look of shock that's very interesting at the end. Like, oh shit, mom's gonna be so mad at me when they get home. And he's a kinslayer now, which is something that follow, like, even in the book, that follows him around. And it'll be interesting, like, because he, like, we've talked a bit about him in earlier episodes, where he starts out very sympathetically this season as being like the bullied kid and the one who goes crying to his mom saying they all laughed at me, and now that he's kind of like ascended to become like the uber bully, now, like, it's kind of like the reality of that's kind of slapped him in the face, and like, I feel like he's going to have a much rougher rise to like arch villainy than he does in the book, where he's kind of just like a menace from the start.
Yeah.
Right, because imagine, like, you know, him coming back and trying to sell this. Who in their right mind would believe him? You know, like, they're coming back, and like the story from Storm's End is going to be what it is, and then like, yeah, who in their right mind would believe that?
Yeah, and so Bina put up her kind of reaction episode like a couple hours ago before the episode, because she spoiled herself, and they recorded a little something. So someone on the YouTube commented, Josh Knock commented, that it's also like he liked the idea that he was shocked because this is his first murder. It's the first time he's taken a life. As hard as he is going around with all the rhetoric and the one eye and all that shit, like, he's never actually killed someone, right?
I'll admit I struggle with it. I poor Quentin tweeted this. It came across my feed, and I struggle to refute it, which is that, like, I don't know why you go to all that effort if you're gonna just not kill him. Like, my issue is just like it's a long chase. Aemond is very, very happy to be striking horror into this child and his dragon. Like, it begs, like, what did he think was going to happen? Like, what was the culmination going to be? Like, I did think it was really powerful to see him go, like, oh shit, like, I started a war. Oops. And mom was going to be so happy with me because I was going to bring her this eye. But, like, you know, I
he was like, I wanted to torture the kid and rip him apart. That was too quick.
I think it might be a reflection on the whole, like, these people aren't very down to earth as far as the consequences of what violence is at the end of the day, right? When you're 17 and your entire life has been training in a yard with, some of the best fighters in the world who are still going to go, like, are not going to beat you seriously, when you fuck up. And when you're actually out in the world and you're trying to commit that violence on someone, and you aren't realizing that the implications of that violence is that war will be started because of it, I do think it's possible to do this, to have this, like, happen like this.
And I think the idea with Aemond is that he's struggling with two sides. In that, I think the book's just sort of portraying him as kind of a psychopath, which, okay, that's fine. Has powers on his own, but I think that the show is trying to show a little bit more complicated. And there's the very vindictive, violent side of Aemond, and then there's the side in which I should be king, and I know better than my brother and how to be a king and how to act in political situations. And here he is trying to be a violent, vindictive little shit, but at the same time, at the moment in which he would push too far and the dragon bit the other dragon, suddenly, he came to where? Oh, wait a minute. At that moment, wait a minute. This is a terrible political decision to make. And I just fucked up. I just started the war.
I would have preferred it. I mean, it's a chaotic thing. I don't know exactly how you coordinate this, but like, if it had been clear that his goal had been like, I'm going to take Prince Lucerys hostage and kill Arax, which is tactically a pretty good idea, and then something goes wrong. Either Vhagar does the thing, or maybe he has Luke, and Luke starts stabbing him, and like he slips off or something. Like, I don't mind it not being Aemon's fault, and I don't mind the dragon. I mean,
I don't
what's her
know.
base? Vhagar is like a strong, independent woman. She doesn't need to listen to any man.
Right.
She, whatever. But like, I guess
Visenya's partner, yeah.
yeah.
Well,
But
I
Aemon
don't
is
know.
so smart, and he prides himself on being so smart. And maybe it's because the actor does not look 17. But I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know how you thought this was going to end, buddy.
I mean, his line from episode 9, when you were doing other things, I was studying the blade. Like, he's an edgy, Dark Star
He's an
clone to
edgelord.
me. Yeah, no. He's an edgelord that hasn't actually committed any violence in the world seriously, and doesn't understand the consequences of them.
Yeah.
I think he's a total fucking dweeb of a person who just doesn't understand what he's doing in the end.
I don't think he's a total dweeb. I think he understands most of the time he understands what he's doing, but in that situation, and he's never been put into that sort of situation where a wrong move can start and will start the war, like officially. I don't think there's anything too deep in the fact that he's thinking about taking this Viserys hostage. I think he just wants to he wants to bully the guy who used to bully him. And well, you have dragons now. The bullying can very easily lead to something much, much worse. And then he snapped when the too far thing happened. He realized it, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, I just made a terrible mistake.
So
yeah,
so-
I think what this kind of cheapens is the mothers, or like the theme of like from episode 8 of just like the mothers wanting at least to work this out without shedding blood, but the grievances have been passed on to their children, and it is way too late to work that out between them when none of them want to. And I think if if the route of like Alicent and Rhaenyra don't want to fight each other, if that's the creative choice they're going with, then I think that I think there are only so many characters who can occupy the emotional niche of I don't want to hurt anyone, but I think there have to be some characters in this emotional landscape that just want war for the sake of it, like Daemon.
Yeah, we need active antagonists, and it can't just be Daemon.
Yeah, that's kind of one of my, because it's something that's kind of happened over and over, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, is that there's a lot of like accidental violence, or rather like people not like being overly hesitant, like Alicent is kind of in that camp too, where it's like they're very different from like their book counterparts who want what they want and they're willing to do anything to get what they want. Whereas here, it's a lot of hand wringing and like, no, maybe we should try this, or no, yeah, it takes away like some of the agency of some of these characters in a way that can, I think, if they keep doing it, can kind of weaken the narrative. It's like, yeah, whoever said it before, like an active antagonist is like just as compelling as someone who is trying to maintain peace. It's just like you have to pick a lane,
I feel like, on the other hand, and this is, I guess, my perspective, is that I feel like the reason I never liked the book and how the way that it's portrayed is I don't see that sort of thing as agency. I just sort of see it as very, very one-dimensional characters doing a bunch of horrible things, and I hated almost every single character in the books because of that. Whereas I like these characters a lot more. I found them a lot more interesting. That they are characters who I feel like they do have agency, and the choice not to act is, I believe, them exercising agency. That
not every character has to have depth, though. I mean, one-dimensional characters can be very useful in the story, as long as they aren't all one-dimensional.
I mean, that's just me. Other people can have. Ramsey Snow was very popular.
It's like we talked about this with Rings of Power. It's like I don't need like a complicated Sauron, you know. I don't need it.
It's up to again. Different people have different views, and that's me. I don't care for Lord of the Rings anything. So I might be the crazy one.
No, I think that this. So when watching this scene, this kind of made me think too. I don't know if anybody has seen the Sandman on Netflix. There's an episode where basically the character who's played by Lupin is basically grants everybody freedom of like being able to do or say whatever they want, and that leads to an amount of consequences that it's a lot of consequences, positive and mostly negative. But this to me felt like, Aemon wanted to kill Luke. He's wanted to kill Luke probably since the moment he gouged his eye out. And so to me, it felt like more that Vhagar knew that Aemon wanted this, and so he did it.
The subconscious or like guiding the dragon's actions.
Oh, like the warging aspect, the bond.
And I think they kind of I don't know if I wouldn't say they explored it, but they did kind of mirror that earlier in the episode with Rhaenyra giving birth. They showed their dragon like screaming, and I don't know if that was meant to be like a, she is the dragon, or if it's like the dragon's feeling her pain there type thing. I don't know if that's what the show wants to go with. They really kind of like held back on that with Game of Thrones.
But we've also seen it with Caraxes and Daemon twice, like first on the bridge and then in this episode with the Kingsguard, where Caraxes is nowhere to be seen. Daemon doesn't make any noises or signals, but dude comes up over the hill and is like, yep, ready to pounce. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, there's definitely some kind of bond there, and I think that Vhagar, like, whether he's agitated by, I think that some people will read that as being agitated by Eric's, breathing fire into his neck or whatever. I put it more as like Aemon had wanted to do this his whole life, and Vhagar is just doing the job for him, even though Aemon has a moment of like, oh shit, I didn't actually want to do this. Like,
and it was also one giant bite, right? It was just over in a second.
Yeah.
It was wow.
Yeah, thanks for laying all that out, Casey, because that shit is compelling to me. That's fun.
In the book, there's, I think, like Septon Barth straight out says that dragons take on the preferences of their riders. It's like, like Silverwing and Vermithor get along famously, and they don't like Dreamfire, who is, like the dragon of their grumpy older sister who feels that Jaehaerys stole her throne. And I think in the book when Luke goes to Storm's End, like Arax and Vhagar are snapping at each other the entire time out in the yard.
Yeah, I definitely think that
the yard, like this, like Vhagar's too big. It's like I kind of made me wonder how Aemon got on Vhagar so quickly. But
this is the stuff that really wants me to like have the book like of Aemon's POV and see like what he was actually thinking during that moment, and to see like how dragons and the Targs bond with each other, because that's like the stuff that I'm like really interested in, and I think that it adds an interesting level to it. But it's also something that the show has never done before. They really after season 1 of Game of Thrones, they really kind of like were like, direwolves, warging, what of it?
Nice props.
Yeah, not so much. Get rid of most of them. Don't show them.
Right.
Too expensive.
So I don't know. I think I'm wishful thinking, but I think it's an interesting aspect to think about.
Even if that's not the route they're taking, I mean, these are characters with conflicted. They have different things that pulling them into to make different decisions all the time. And the struggle and to try to come up with a decision, an alternate decision, with all these conflicting feelings and conflicting biases and conflicting political interests. I don't know. Isn't that what it's all about?
What is interesting is that they don't have Lord Baratheon's daughter egging on Aemond after Luke leaves.
Maris.
Considering, like,
that's true.
Considering, like, like the theme of this, like, short story or novella of misogyny and, like, historical misogyny and just, like, doing anything or just, like, finding any way to blame a woman for men's actions. That is a notable absence.
Also, they have to pay the actor way more
To
if they
speak.
talk.
That said, I feel like cut out one of those Celtic guards or whatever's and add her in. Much more interesting because she has a character.
I do think, I guess going back to like the musing on how many children have been born in the show, like I think it's about children. Like I think that is ultimately what the show is talking about and like considering and like the things we pass down to kids and the way that affects generation after generation. And yeah, I mean, I sorry, I like zoned out for a bit, but like, it's true that episode 8, was it, with the dinner? Like that, the war it has started already. Like the tragedy of that scene is that like, and you see the interaction with Luke and Aemond, that like, it doesn't matter how much peace their moms make. It doesn't matter how much their granddad/dad wants there to, be amity and whatever between them. It's too late. They've poisoned the children, and the children are now on this path, and this is an interesting part of that.
And the children are the future.
Well, they've set up their future.
And most of these children are not their future.
Well,
I've read the book.
Unfortunately, they're supposed to be.
I mean, they won't be around to see it anyway, so.
Womp womp.
Anyway, so the next scene. Are we ready to go on the next scene, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's interesting that we don't see Daemon's face in this.
When he gives her the news?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or after.
I think we would have been critical of any face that he gave.
I enjoyed that
Matt Smith was busy.
I really do enjoy that they gave her like this kind of, she turns off to the side, and it's obvious that in that moment she's kind of like letting out whatever emotion she can't let out in front of her lords, and then when she turns around it's more of a furious hatred that's left.
She's got that Danny face.
Yeah.
She's about to burn stuff.
I should mention this.
Narcotis face.
This episode was amazing, but like specifically the last couple of scenes felt. I was glued to the seat. I was locked in. I normally have like a live chat going for these, but I didn't care. I was just so sucked in. And I noticed afterwards, like, it was a very similar thing where just nobody was typing because they were all locked into the scene that much.
They have stolen my crown and murdered my children, and now they shall answer for it.
I hope that they maintain that tenor with her, and have her just like full ascend to like, yes, fire and blood. We're gonna take back what's ours. I will appreciate that. Yeah, because like I think like the kind of something that's kind of bothered me a little over the season is kind of the gender essentialism of women want peace and men want war.
Thank you.
No, yeah, it's like, no, that's not really how an absolute monarchy works, unfortunately. So yeah, I will I would be very thrilled to kind of see Rhaenyra like go, like the descent begin into
Rhaenyra's like
total-
blood and cheese.
No, I think the primary work of season 2, the primary work of season 1 is like, setting the table and humanizing Alicent, that the primary work of season 2 would be to, just like show Rhaenyra's descent into making it believable. So when she steps into King's Landing, and I guess the finale of season 2, that like it's completely believable that she's immediately a tyrant.
It makes sense that she goes from a place of I guess it makes it more of a tragedy that she goes from being someone who wanted to maintain the unity of the realm and was resisting the call to war, and then she just kind of goes all like full hog into it.
Yeah, I mean,
all bets are off.
it is from the book that like when Luke dies, she's like she has that initial like blustery one-liner to like the maester that's delivering terms, but then like when Luke dies, she does become kind of like a sobbing mess. But then when Jace dies, really just like that's at the point where like all of the best parts of her died too, and what's just left is tyranny.
Yeah,
So I guess if they're trying to make that more consistent, and or they're just like keeping now as her dark turn, and they're going to keep it consistent, and then it's just going to get a level even worse when Jace dies, or.
I guess this is a good time to talk about this. So Martin said that there would be 4 seasons of 10 episodes apiece.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if that's like law, because HBO's only renewed for a second season. But I don't know if that's for sure what's going to happen, but it sounds like that is the plan. So what are we thinking next season do you think the end of season 2 would be her arriving in King's Landing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about I don't have the timeline of all the battles, so I can't speak to that. But narratively, I guess it would make sense to open with blood and cheese and then end with Rhaenyra stepping into King's Landing when everyone's just dug in on their side. And then the next season is about how everyone's just dug in and it's just war,
I don't think they can open with blood and cheese because I mean, unless they do
episode 1. Whatever,
I would not do it in episode 1 personally, just because I think you need that time for Alicent to be like, holy shit, we have completely destroyed our chance at peace. Like her reacting to Luke's death and having that land.
We do need that beat, but maybe they end with blood and cheese in that episode.
Well, I think also you need a little more time to have Helena be with her children.
Let's. However far we push it back for Helena's sake, I'm good with that.
I really hope they change her ending. I'm like, they changed what's his face's Laenor's. I really hope they change her ending. They're not going to change blood and cheese, but I hope they change. I don't want her just and then somebody pushed her out a window. Maybe.
I was gonna say, are her and Aegon still in the room with the what's his name, Tom and Window?
Oh yeah.
Didn't she get caught on the spikes and take a day to die or something?
It's pretty bad.
We don't need that. We don't. You know what? Need that. George, love you. Don't need it.
Maybe they'll have her hang herself instead.
I guess I've been thinking of the show as having a 3-season arc, that it's kind of hard for me to fit it into where the breaks would be for 4 seasons. Because in my mind, next season you got to get blood and cheese. Rhaenys has to die, and then maybe Jace has to die, and then King's Landing. Maybe that's Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like we'll have Gullet as one of the big battles. We'll have Rhaenys, so Rook's Rest. We'll have Jace going to the Eyrie and Winterfell. We'll have maybe the earliest battles in the Riverlands, and I think the end of the season will be the Gullet, if I had to guess. And Jace dying.
I could see that. I feel like season 3 is probably where you want to have Alicent and Rhaenyra back together, but you don't want to. If it's going to go to a 4th season, you don't want Rhaenyra dead before that. Yeah,
I
don't
think
know.
Rhaenyra would die season 3, late season though.
Yeah, I think they might. Well, I don't know, because what do you do? How do you have a whole season without who's
Well, the dance
viewed as
goes
like your principal
on
character?
a
I know it
good
does. It
long
does,
time.
but
I
I don't
mean,
know.
Yeah.
I don't know what their stopping point is.
I feel sorry.
No, go ahead, Katie.
I think like she has to die like late in the last season of the show, and then maybe you have 2 episodes of denouement with Aegon,
Yeah.
the second, him dying, and then her kids, or rather her Aegon the Third getting put on there, because I think that's the kind of like the pen that you put on this whole conflict, is that she dies but her child gets the throne. Like that's kind of her legacy. I feel like that would be a probably or he could get the throne and then Aegon the Third is like, yeah, lock the dragons away. None of this shit. No more of this shit. We can't control them.
Be like lemon grab from Adventure Time. No more dragons.
I'm feeling. I don't know. I just feel like we could get like half a season out of Cregan.
I don't disagree.
Battle.
I just don't know if that's practical for a show of this caliber to kind of ditch those characters.
I'm gonna say, like, if we're talking, they want to get ballsy. I mean, God did it itself in season 1 with Ned, like the principal character.
It's very different. That's very different. They didn't kill.
I'm not saying I wouldn't enjoy it. I'm not saying I wouldn't enjoy it. I just feel like that's something that if you're the showrunner and you're at HBO and you go, okay, and you're like, yeah, so season 3 we're gonna kill the main character that who they know is like quote unquote the main character. And like, okay, and then what? Like she comes back, or what are we doing? No, she's dead. She's dead. There's a whole other story we're telling now. Well, what's the next season? Like they wouldn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, it is odd because once you put Rhaenyra in King's Landing, you can't have her there for like more than the season, and the storming of the Dragon Pit is a big set piece that makes sense to put late in the season as like episode 9 or the finale,
like towards the end of a season 3. Yeah, that would make sense.
But then it's just like, would we want a whole season of, again, it's 4 seasons isn't set in stone,
right?
Just
exactly.
a very educated guess from Martin, but like, right, so then maybe like Rhaenyra's death, season 4 episode 1. But like Cregan takes an entire episode, but then like, how else would you fill 8 other episodes? I'm not entirely sure.
Post Rhaenyra's, there's actually not that much story,
right?
Unless they really want to go deep.
Unless they're jumping forward a lot.
Yeah,
I think it's also worth noting that like this show is so focused on Alicent and Rhaenyra as kind of the 2 queens on the board.
Right.
And so to have it just be like, well, Aegon was talking to Aegon, and then there was Viserys, and also Cregan, and like whatever, and I'm just like, like the removal of all of the women. Not that it doesn't make sense, but like, wouldn't feel great in this show to me.
It's not.
I guess maybe they could have Mysaria. Like, yeah.
Mysaria actually dies before Rhaenyra.
I know, but maybe they'll change that so we can hear more of her accent.
Oh no! Please no.
Yeah, maybe maybe they don't take King's Landing in the next season, even though I think that'd be a pretty sweet episode 10. Maybe
just imagine the last shot is Rhaenyra bloody on the walking off the throne.
Girl, I've already thought about this so much. Where I'm like, Aemon goes to Harrenhal and he's like, "Where's Daemon? Where is he?" And then we come back, and they're flying over King's Landing, and there's Nettles and everybody else on their dragons. It'll be amazing.
Right. Well, we still have a lot of characters to introduce, I suppose. I mean, you've got the dragon seeds, and there are other lords, and there's some intrigue that happens around the kingdom there, and they can add stuff. They're probably going to add stuff.
With that said, like I'm okay with, because Jace dies at the gullet, right?
Yeah.
I'm okay with that being like a later season 2 thing if they give, like Adam suggests, more time to introduce secondary characters, because good lord, they need that time. Why give us, like a good portion of a late season episode for the twins when, like they're gonna be gone very soon after Blood and Cheese?
Yeah, we still
Unless
got
they're
to spend some
changing
time with
something.
Grover. I mean,
No Grover, only Kermit.
We gotta have the entire Winterfell bro down.
I
Yeah.
am the
Sarah
Lord
Snow.
of Winterfell.
I could very much see them spending quite a while with Jace at Winterfell because it's a familiar showpiece. They have the sets and everything. You know, you get to kind of rally the Stark merchandise back, you know, to people, tell them that shit.
There's all those heart trees if they want to do that.
Gotta
Bran will be
introduce
like,
Sarah
"Oh, hey,
Snow
what's up?"
with a, you know, just like a doe-eyed beauty, and then, you know, like Jace is like, oh, so you're a bastard, huh? They call me that.
I'm a strong boy.
I'm a strong boy. And you know what? Stark is German for strong.
I just think, yeah, I'm supposed to be the heir to the throne. I don't even want it.
Or we could get the confirmation of the theory that his dragon lays some eggs up there.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be cool.
One thing that I think
Dragons like the hot springs of Winterfell.
I think one thing to keep in mind going forward is that I don't think these battles are going to take a lot of time.
Right.
Game of Thrones typically don't spend all the time on battles, except for like the really big one, and they don't have a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, like a battle is usually like an episode. It's not like Dragon Ball Z where they sit around for 20 episodes.
Right. Yeah, the battle's not even an episode.
Well, but I mean, like it's contained within an episode. Is what I mean.
Yeah. It's like 10 minutes at most.
Yeah. So like even like Hard Home and Battle of the Bastards and the Loot Train, if we're still calling it that, like those episodes that were kind of big, still were all contained in one episode. So
what are the big ones? We've got the gullet, we've got the fish feed, we've got the battle over Harrenhal.
All the battles of Tumbleton.
Yeah, I mean, there's the battle above the God's Eyes. I think what everyone is waiting for.
Yeah,
that's going to be pretty late. So
what's the one? Where does Kristen Cole die?
Where he gets an arrow in the knee and shit.
Butcher's Ball.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's like on the King's Road or something.
So Kristen Cole, the most noble knight to ever wear the white cloak.
I'm starting to think that it's been a while since I read Fire and Blood, that George literally just wrote this to name the battles, all this stuff. Like,
yeah,
wouldn't it be cool if? But Kristen Cole can't die before he and Alicent have sex.
You know what? Considering his whole like, you know, like his whole like big time Madonna whore complex, he'll probably, when that happens, he'll just probably call her a harlot and leave.
He might. I don't know.
He can call me a harlot anytime he wants.
I don't know. I feel like it's a really interesting psychological mess that they've got going on there with like,
No, but this is the classical courtly love of just like, you know, like devoting yourself to a woman who's unattainable and not actually consummating it.
Yeah, no, I know, but I feel like you don't usually see that deconstructed in a psychological way. You see it in like a bodice ripper kind of way, like I can't keep my hands off of you finally. But in a like, what does it do to your head if like this person is supposed to be?
You guys keep saying bodice ripper. Is this like a genre I don't know about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I imagine it's like the creepy, you know, Fabio novel with the guys like, oh, milady.
We're not supposed to make fun of romance anymore. It's a real genre.
He does get sued. Like, she has that line last episode where she's like, everything you feel for me as your queen. It was very intimate.
It was very intimate. I want Alicent to take something that she wants finally.
Right.
Look, look, I've been in team girl touch yourself for like, you know, like 7 episodes now.
Right.
But like,
right. We could have averted war with a little masturbation, but
and I want a sex scene with her and Kristen Cole where she keeps the shoes on because she's like, no.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
We got so close to forgetting.
Oh no.
What if she like cuts her like foot or something, or her toe, like while like he's doing it, like, or whatever, to like fuck with him, like make him do something.
I'm very
we're gonna get escalating foot fetish scenes where, like, the next time she's with Laura, she's gonna be stepping on eggs, stomping.
Food will be involved.
Oh no!
Finally,
no,
she'll
no,
be
no.
crushing his balls.
That's
I
right.
actually
Yeah,
don't know. I feel
He's
like they
obviously.
might
making
back
wine
away
today.
from
I
that.
brought grapes.
Considering the reaction to it, I
Yeah, the
think they might
response
as
has
well.
not been great, especially among apparently like disabled viewers. So I feel like
Right.
they might not necessarily like make Laris not gross, but like they might back away from that
What do
particular
you mean
manifestation.
disabled viewers? Like
Viewers
People
that
that
are
can't
disabled.
can't walk?
No.
People with disabilities
Like-
have commented
It's more
on the
about
portrayal
tying
of
the fetish to his disability.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a little
Right.
odd. I've got to
Oh,
say.
they're trying
I
to say
thought it
because
was-
he's got the club foot,
Club
he's in
foot.
defeat.
Yeah.
And
Well, they
that's-
zoom right in on his
okay.
foot as he's sitting there.
They
Yeah.
they did a.
Which I really
shot
wish they
of his
hadn't done
foot.
actually, because I feel
Oh.
like it actually I think it was actually a really kind of smart way of getting Alicent into that position and whatever, but obviously if people are like uncomfortable with it based on their own experiences, that's obviously super valid. So
I thought it
Yeah,
was
the whole
so
my love,
cringy, personally. Yeah.
I
yeah,
still
the
say-
whole like, sorry, the whole your love for me as the queen. I think that was just more of her trying to manipulate him,
Right.
and
Yeah.
not that like she was acting in an unchaste way. I feel like any of that, like, 'cause she still like hates herself for like being under Laris's thumb like this, and she hasn't, per her conversation with Rhaenys, she hasn't taken what she's wanted yet, right? It's like just like the conversation Rhaenyra had with Daemon in 104. So
just
for
wanted to
those
jump
two
in-
things, it sounds like it's like they're not banging yet. She's just like, that's just how people talk, you know. It's just like
Right.
like your loyalty to me as the queen, and like your like admiration for it, whether it's like you actually like have a crush on me. I'm not sure if she entirely means it that way, or if she does mean it that way and she's using it to manipulate him.
I don't
Mhm.
think she needs to manipulate him. I think he has fully signed on to the religion of Alicent Hightower,
Right.
and like he'll do whatever. I think that was a, I guess, cashing some kind of currency that she already had, but I don't think it was manipulative.
I think he's manipulating her. Like it clearly he's
I
the
think
one
they're
in
both.
control.
I think you think he's the one in control necessarily. I mean, I think
Yeah.
they both are of a certain aspect.
Yeah, he got a character who is closeted and not sex positive in any kind of way near that, to show her feet and masturbate in front of her.
Right, but we
Right.
come
You're
into
talking
this
about Laris. I
seeing
think we
that
were talking about Cole.
we
for a
come
second. I'm not sure.
Oh.
we just come in seeing this as an established thing, so we don't really know who kind of initiated this, how, or what the power dynamic is. Like, clearly she's not like super into it, or it could just be in her brain. It's like we talked about this, like, you know, like the backdoor loophole thing, you know, like
Right.
that religious girls get, like, hey, if I look away, he can look at my feet and I can pretend that like I'm not a part of this, even though she knows full
Right.
well what's going on, and this is, you know, the carrot that she dangles in front of him. Or maybe it's not. It's really hard to read.
I think he's been charging her this. I think they've worked up to. I don't think she would want to do this. I also
No
think
way.
that you can tell based on what she says to him on the ship, which is
Mhm.
that like I will like find some way to reward you or something, like when the opportunity arises. And I was like, oh, political, whatever, gonna make you
Right,
master whispers, whatever. Nope, apparently it's not
He was like,
that.
"Can I just look at your feet?" She was.
It's a little more, shall we
where's that
say, bait.
conversation?
Him alone in her chambers. Oh, when she meets alone with her in her chambers in 106, she doesn't have her shoes on. You can see her stocking feet when Talia walks in, when she's at the table.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like, if that was just kind of, if that
Right,
was
if
him
it was-
being like, why don't you take your shoes off, get comfortable, like, because she's not
Nope.
tense at all in that scene with him.
Yeah, I think that was like, I think at that stage it might very well have been just like this weird thing that he suggests, and she's just going along with it, but it's not creepy yet. So, you know, she's doing it. But
It's like, I want us to be so close that we don't have to wear shoes when we're around each other. Just relax, girl.
just you, not me, though.
I still want to interject
Yeah.
with my favorite YouTube comment of the week, not on one of our videos, but I saw where someone said that Otto is the hand and Alicent is the foot.
Oh yeah, I saw
was a
a
good
few
one.
of
I just thought
those.
that was cute.
We didn't mention it in this episode, but when Rhaenyra ripped the hand off of Otto and threw it off the bridge, that was awesome.
Yep, that was good.
It's okay. He'll get a new one.
I'm sure.
Get a chain.
That guy.
He probably has a whole
Anyway.
collection of them. He wears one every day, a different one,
He just pulls it out of his pocket. Yep. All
One
right.
for every day of the week.
right? Yeah.
I hope they cut his hands off when they behead him.
Right. I think in the
But
book,
preferably before.
I think in the book it was a maester that was the envoy, so she ripped his chain off. And in the book, it's not like a big chain across all your body. It's just like a choker necklace almost.
Mhm.
So
And I guess we didn't mention that it is a weird choice that Otto came all the way himself, and she doesn't kill him and all that. But there's not really much of a reason that she wouldn't,
Yes.
or that he wouldn't
There is.
assume
oh
she
no,
would.
he's a peace envoy, and
Yeah.
that's about.
No,
like,
I know that, but
appearances.
he's with the history with Daemon and with everything going on, like him leaving there alive is not
That book
very
is gonna be
high
missing-
probability. Like a messenger is much more likely to be able to leave.
That book is going to be missing that page for forever now.
Right.
And
Oh
that
my
makes
God.
me really sad.
This is
Great.
how we get podcasts about history, where we're like,
Right.
we don't actually know anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what
No, we know about Nymeria. It's okay.
what was the book? What
It was
book was that
Nymeria.
from? It was but it was just from a history
It
book.
sounds like it's
or-
just like a fairy tale that they liked.
Right.
It seems it was more
As
of like
kids, they-
just
as
like or
kids, they read it
kitty level history of like Nymeria teaching the kids.
Yeah, it
about
was just her
Nymeria.
trying to reconnect and say like, "Hey, remember when we used to not hate each other?"
I kept this the whole
Can I
time.
sit on your throne?
Honestly, her keeping the paper speaks more to me of Alicent actually reciprocating Rhaenyra's crush than anything she did
It's
at the time.
Super gay.
Yeah.
Super gay. I kept this page you ripped out of a book 20 years ago. Are you kidding me?
right?
Yes.
Actually, I'm very passionate about books.
Quick question. Because we didn't really we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. Like what do you think Daemon's relationship is like with Luke and Jace? Because he seems like I cannot imagine that he's had more than 5 conversations with either of these kids in all the years that he's been married to Rhaenyra.
What are you talking about? Daemon is a loving stepfather who embraces all of his adopted children.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I
That
feel
ship
like
sailed.
Daemon's not a monster in this. He's a person who isn't a fantastic father to begin with. Like David was saying. Like I
Yeah, I get the feeling that the
hugging those girls, Michal. They shot that scene.
I get the feeling that a lot of the people so a lot of the kids are just, if they're good, they're in spite of their upbringing most of the time. So
Right.
it's like Daemon, decent in spite of his upbringing, the strong boys, Aegon, Viserys, good people in spite of their upbringing. Baela Rhaena, good people in spite of Daemon.
I don't know, but like almost all of the greens are kind of shit.
Right.
Like
Aemon
Helena
and
seems
Aegon
fine.
are,
but
but Helena and Daemon
almost
are,
all of the black kids seem fine. Like they just all die.
I mean, they're not given much of a chance, a lot of these kids as well, to be fair. Like, the oldest ones, so it's Aegon, Aemond are, like, unequivocally bad people, right?
Right.
And then you've got Helena, Daemon, older, but they're good people, generally. And
Well,
then
but
Jace,
they're not attached to power in the way that the older twos are, right? Like they're not entrapped in
Daemon
King's Landing,
has
and
a dragon at the very least. And
that's true.
Helena does,
But
but
he
it seems like
when does he get sent off?
He's sent off early on.
Yeah.
He's sent
Well,
off.
yeah, he's not at
Daemon-
King's Landing hardly at all.
Aaron killed many, many people.
Yes.
I do want to point this out. When we say good Targaryen, they all had the potential. Jacaerys as well.
Yeah.
He participated in many battles, in several battles as well. They're all kind of shit in some way or another.
Thing you can't hide. Okay, I know you're a green cell. You can't hide
Yeah,
from me.
they're all our baby
People I care
girls.
about, the people I care about, like I said, the real people, the Tristan True Fires of the world.
No, I think my meme has proven you wrong, good sir.
We will see how much I support Tristan True Fire. I'm okay with Gaiman, or whatever his name is.
Gaiman
as well.
Pale Hair.
Hair. I'm okay with him as well.
Not so much
Supports women's rights, sex worker rights.
You know what? He's cool with me too, but the crazy prophet, F that guy.
You know who I want to see? Alice Rivers.
That'll be interesting.
I want to see what HBO does with her so
I
bad.
have no idea what happens
Witch
to her
Queen of
anyways?
Harrenhal.
What happens to her anyways in the story? Just sort of stays
She
in
has,
Harrenhal?
yeah, she has Aemon's baby, and the last we see of her is she's still holed up there, like witchcrafting the men under her thrall. They try to go root her out afterwards, and she does some magic shit, and it's still there.
Good for
Harrenhal is
her.
a fucked up place, y'all.
I feel like the people who often goes to Harrenhal does fucked up things.
I think the funniest part of Alice Rivers is that she bewitches all the men around her, but when Daemon goes there, like they make a note, they're like, she had no sway over him, and it's like, yeah, she's too old.
Oh no!
Because Daemon in the book is a fucking pervert.
But wait, is she allegedly using a glamour or?
Hard to say. She
'Cause
has
I thought
visions.
That they said that she was. I thought they said that she was. She might even be older than she looks, which is like pushing 40, right?
Might be some Melisandre magic.
Yeah, hey,
I was gonna
Melisandre
say.
was young at one point.
Spoilers.
She could be around.
So I saw this theory floating around on TikTok. I don't know if you guys discussed it because I haven't had time to listen to last week's DragonCast, but did anybody discuss Aemon fathering Helena's kids by chance?
I don't believe it.
We discussed it in the Discord.
I don't.
Okay.
I think he's too much of a fucking dweeb. I'm gonna be honest.
I personally, my concern is that Helena is too earnest a person to keep something like that a secret, especially when she's already she's already at her limit. It seems like trying to manage her visions.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of sympathy for and theoretical support of this like kind of sweet fan fiction that a lot of people are writing about Aemon and Helena having this transcendent, meaningful, protective or romantic relationship. I don't think it's in the text at all. So like, I don't see it.
It supposedly comes out of the fact that like if you crank up the audio really high during that dinner scene with the family, like Aemon is chastising his brother. He's like, "You need to apologize to our sister," and Aegon's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And Aemon's like, "No, that's not good enough." So everyone's like, "No, Aemon is super supportive of Helena."
Well, and then, like, is it
so that's
Driftmark where at the funeral where he's talking about, she's gonna be your queen or whatever, and he's like, "Oh," and he's like, "Well, I would do it," like.
I don't know if saying I'd marry her is like the paragraph.
No, I'm just saying I think that's like the seed, of the theory.
In his as the devil's advocate, I think for that specific conversation, he's saying that to Aegon, as in the mastermind of his bullying, of who gets the other boys to join in on the bullying, right? So I think it's more like he's trying not to sound too interested because one, it's not going to happen, and he doesn't want to admit to wanting to bang his sister in front of Aegon.
Stephanie, do you buy into this theory?
I don't. I don't believe it on Helena's end. I don't.
Yeah.
But
I don't
I think if he did have a crush on his sister, his tastes are evolving elsewhere. Oops. Although Helena is technically a mother now.
Oh God. I think he's just dutiful. Like that's his whole shtick is that he is mommy's boy and he is constantly going on about how he would do the right thing and as soon as someone would just give me the responsibility, I'd do it, I'd do everything cool.
Yeah, so to me, like, I think Eamon talks a big game about how you're supposed to treat people in the family, but he's just an asshole.
So there's two
He-
things.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, he just like strikes me like a nice guy, essentially, like the titular, like, well, I treat people right, you know, when I need to, but in reality, he's not actually a good person. And
Yeah, I compared him, like in the Discord, I said he was like kind of around the incel territory, if not entirely one.
yeah, just the like, oh, Kristen, I studied the blade, you know, like shit. Yeah, I don't know. I like I said, he just strikes me as a dweeb, like one of the biggest dweebs we've gotten so far, but a dweeb.
So the two things that popped up for me, or at least on my feed, I don't think I like totally like buy into this, but there's two things. One is when the Eamon goes with Christian Cole to find out where Aegon is, the head sex worker, I don't know who the lady was like, "Hey Eamon, I've missed you. Where have you been?" So there's that. And then the other thing was when Alicent comes in to see Helena and says, "Where is their father?" The kids, if you crank up the volume, say, it sounds like they're saying Aemond, apparently.
What?
So
kids don't know how to pronounce any of these names.
You take that kind of secret with you to the grave. You know, like if you don't tell the children that they're there. You know, like even Rhaenyra, who's pretty blatant about, you know, her sleeping around. She doesn't even tell her kids that Harwin's the father. You know, Jace figures that out on his own.
I think that it's more that Aemond is probably like being a good uncle and like hanging out with the kids, and Aegon's not, because he's more interested in other things. So
I would buy that. I mean,
yeah,
he
I think it's
strikes
more
me as
that.
he strikes me as someone who's had sex once and never again. Because he, in his own words, he's a man of virtue who knows nothing of depravity.
Well, I think that was the whole point of the brothel scene, where he talks about how Aegon had brought him down there, and then the madam or whatever was like, "Hey, it's been a while." Like, I think the point was like, he's like, "Yeah, I don't come back." I'm not into this. So
fucking dork.
Enjoy those pleasures, you know. Meanwhile, you got Aegon over here. You know, it's like not more like Dick on Targaryen. Am I right, guys? Am I right?
Child.
Oh no.
Fighting ring.
He showed us his sapphire this episode, though.
Oh, we did get to see the eye.
Yeah.
I like the eye.
That was good.
Creepy.
That was good.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. We have a good assemblage here. Okay, people who are in the lore. Who is worse, Viserys or Aegon the Unworthy?
Ooh.
Like
Aegon the Unworthy,
the
easily Aegon the Unworthy. Nah.
I think I posted this the other day. It was like, can you imagine Aegon the Unworthy with dragons? Like Viserys, like this probably helped. This is probably a good thing.
I don't feel like Viserys was actively trying to fuck the realm over.
No.
Aegon was definitely trying to fuck the realm.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's not to be said for neglect being worse than whatever, but like than abuse. But like, then again, talk to all the people that the Unworthy like tortured and had executed, and
he also promoted
and then also plunging the country into civil war. Like, in addition, he wasn't just a bad king during his life.
Like, just like for shits and giggles too.
And if we're being fair to also like the implications of the wars that came after, he's the one that sets them on the Blackfire path, which is like 6 wars technically, whereas like Viserys is only 1.
But this is the
I think we mentioned
the death of the dragons,
which sucks. But I think we mentioned that the Civil War was probably inevitable anyway. As many dragons as they had, they either needed to, separate the kingdoms, expand their power, kind of give these dragon lords something else to do, or this was just going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, to continue the nuclear weapon analogy, what's not explicitly forbidden is at some point over time compulsory. So
Yeah, I guess unless they decided, hey, we're gonna go try and conquer, Essos or something. But like history's already seen that happen, and they really had no interest in that, so it's easier probably just to fight with each other for the Iron Throne.
Actually, you can make the argument that Viserys is one of the kings.
Say that again, Bing.
Yeah, you cut out.
Yeah,
you can make the argument that Viserys is one of the better Targaryen kings.
Yeah, especially with the portrayal from the show.
Well, I mean, even ignoring that, you consider how some of the really bad ones got.
That's true.
The Bay Lords, the Aenys, the Aerys.
Aenys.
I know Aenys was actually Maegor.
Yeah.
I mean, during his lifetime, Viserys actively tried to be a good king. Like he failed in certain decisions, but like
the inbreeding genes just got him physically not.
But
not
isn't
so
the
much
primary
mentally.
duty of the monarch to secure the succession? And
sure,
he
and he failed on that.
Bro, he secured it.
But
Everyone swore.
But like
Everyone
you could just as easily put that on someone like Baelor, on someone like Daemon, on someone like Aegon the Fourth, someone like Viserys II, on someone like
you can put it on Aegon the First.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean,
Well, he could have at least given clarification on how the succession is, how his opinion on the succession should be after Aenys, through proximity or through primogeniture.
True.
I mean, I know we didn't have like a public proclamation of it, I guess, after, but everything. The root of Viserys' problems is Otto Hightower, and I don't think that Aegon the Unworthy kind of did everything to himself, whereas Viserys, it's more like if the Hightowers weren't like as problematic as they were, it probably would have been fine.
Or
so if we look at his
the oldest dragon that was about to die,
and if we look at his other choices of like men to fill out his small council, generally he picks well. I mean, he's the one that has like Thailand in his council. He's the one that has Corlys in his council, and then
for Otto Hightower.
Yeah, Otto is the big one, but he inherits Otto, and Otto doesn't do enough to start to get him dismissed, and he eventually does get dismissed, to be fair to him.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, when he has that strong hand, things go well.
Ultimately, like monarchy as a system is always going to be a problem, and like even dismissing the
no. When I'm king, it'll be great, Bing.
Yeah, we've reached that part of the podcast.
All we need to do is to institute space monarchism, guys.
Look, democracy. Am I right, guys?
Winter is coming out.
Space Force.
Democracy.
Oh, no.
Democracy.
Space dragons.
Yes, being democracy bad.
Democracy. No power to the people.
Yeah. Well, true democracy is chaos. All systems suck. People suck.
Well, according to Miss Arya, they only have the power that the people will give them. So I guess we're getting the French Revolution, and
I'll just say it again in the accent now.
I mean, yeah, the
I think actually that would be wildly offensive if I attempted to do
some sort of hate crime.
I think she's doing like a French Cajun accent. She's not doing like a accent.
Do you guarantee?
With, and I can heavily guess at it, but yeah, fair.
Yeah, giving me Tilly.
What if you just like made a whole new accent? Like they created a whole new accent.
I just want to be clear. Like if this was her actual accent, that's fine. It's not, and it is bad because it's not.
She's British.
That was not a British accent.
No,
I understand that there are more British accents than just the posh British accent.
No, I know.
That didn't sound British to me.
No, I'm saying
she's not.
The actress is British.
Yeah, but she's not doing a British accent of any variety. Yeah, no.
Well, who knows? Maybe it's one of those weird Isle of Man things. Who knows what he's over there?
We'll probably never know. All right. Any more thoughts about this episode?
It was good.
Yeah, I thought it was a good finale, and like we said, I think it's one of the better season finales the show has had.
I was a little sad they didn't work in some way to say that Rhaenyra named the baby Visenya, but
Yeah, I would have liked that, and maybe a little
Yeah.
more horror on the dragon baby.
There could be time. I mean, you got next season. They're at Dragonstone. They could have visiting the grave or something. Or I don't know. They
Really
could
want
bring
them
that
to
up.
bury out the dead baby?
No, I don't want them. I'm just saying, it's possible they could bring it up again. I don't know. I think there's just no time in this episode to do that. That's for sure. Especially after she ripped it out the way she did.
Yeah, that's still
Yep. I just remember that.
And on that note, I'm gonna say that the this show in general is just awesome, and I'm like, this is more than I ever could have hoped for coming from Game of Thrones. Like, I'm so excited for season 2, and they're probably just gonna break my heart, but I'm so excited for season 2.
You'll break your hat.
like those Yankees, huh?
I'm not done processing this yet. They just lost.
Okay, actually, I think I do have something about this episode. So, actually, I think I do have a quibble about this episode. So, does anyone else think it's this is what it is in the book, but it's does anyone else find it a little odd that Rhaenyra is a little under garrisoned at Dragonstone? Because as a comparison, Stannis in the main series, the entire first book, he's building up his forces on Dragonstone.
Well, and she specifically brought Daemon in, and in the next episode, it seems like they fortified, the castle itself, but the numbers haven't been increased very much. I guess she just hasn't had access to that. Like, she's still beholden to the crown to give her troops.
So, to be fair to Stannis at that time, he's master of ships. He's been sucking up all the sailors and ships that he can.
And he's been impressing people, any non-military ship that comes to the island, right?
And he's been pulling in lords into this. He's been pulling other people into this.
Yeah. So when he sets sails, and he's got 5,000 men or so.
I do feel like Dragonstone should have more men than this. There's not a lot there as far as an economy or whatever to sustain.
Another point I would say is that this is before the sacking of Spicetown, and High Tide is still pretty heftily in the better as the port. It's probable that after that they are less desirable to live in, and Dragonstone might be the more desirable place to go if you're able to get away from Driftmark.
Yeah, I guess if back to appearances, it's just if I don't think they're this, or I think they're, if anything, it's just a matter of arrogance on Rhaenyra's part, but it's a little you can say maybe for the sake of appearances, you would want to come off as being so unprepared, because that would demonstrate how betrayed you felt or something, or how how dastardly they are to do this unprovoked when she's barely, or where her side isn't built up at all for this kind of full-scale conflict that it would entail.
Yeah, and there's no time for that though, because the dinner was the night before, and before
that,
but also she's in prep mode with Daemon for years.
Yeah, but at the end of 106, though, when they're leaving court to go to Dragonstone, she says in the middle of the yard of the Red Keep, we will need every sword we can muster.
Yeah. Yep. And then I guess Rhaenyra just forgot about the troops. So. There it is.
Boo.
All right.
I have one more thing to say. Sorry. If you are experiencing House of the Dragon withdrawal, maybe turn your attention to a different show with dragon in the title, which is called The Dragon Prince, which you can watch on Netflix, which is coming out on November 3rd, season 4.
Woo.
The end. Woo!
Michal wrote on it.
We'll have a special interview with writer Michal.
I'm crossing the streams horrifically here, but I can't help myself.
Cool.
No, it's great. That's great. Shameless self-promotion. We love it.
Excited.
Right.
Love
Be
it,
proud
yeah.
of your work.
And we're looking forward to the season anyway. So
Right. One of the things I will say about this season and having this show on and Game of Thrones quote unquote back is I'm glad how much energy it's put back into the community, both the larger Song of Ice and Fire community and particularly Vassals of Kingsgrave community. It's been great to be back and like really back. I mean, not that we ever went away. We've always been around, but like it's brought an energy back and everyone's excited again. And I hope that can continue, even if we have to wait a long time for the next season.
yeah, it's great. And hopefully, someday we'll get another book and people can always join us on the Discord and hang out. And
Giants are doing pretty good.
at a contrast to this, I still find it absolutely insane that Amazon released Rings of Power and aired completely in between this season, between the premiere and the finale. That whole show has come and gone.
And it sucked.
And it was not, it was overall not great. I don't know what they were thinking releasing it like this, but hey,
Competition. It's the capitalist way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know a lot of people that absolutely were like, oh man, it's so great to have Lord of the Rings back. And a lot of people love that show.
Honestly, I am done having, well, now I'm going to have no fun Sundays because the Yankees are done too, but I'm tired of having Sundays with fucking House of the Dragon, the 8 o'clock football game, and the playoffs for baseball, which are terrible now and suck and ugh.
Oh my gosh, all 3 of my teams were playing for this never happens, and both of my teams got killed today, and I don't even know why anyone watched the World Series anymore because fuck it.
No, I get the join Greg in the unhappy sad boat of loss, I guess.
Leave baseball, watch hockey. Hockey makes you feel much
Yeah,
better.
hockey's just starting. There's still hope.
I don't want to be an Islanders
There's still
fan.
hope. You don't have to be an Islanders fan. There are plenty of other teams.
The only team
You can
that
be a
matters.
Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah, but then if I wear like a shirt
Colorado
that's like if I wear like a Flyers
Avalanche,
shirt,
yeah.
I guess if I go with Philly, like then people are gonna be like, "Oh, the Flyers," and then I have to talk about it, and I don't know.
No,
what
don't do
about.
that. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
No.
Don't support the Flyers.
Never
No.
go with Philly.
But Eagles.
The Flyers actively suck. They're not the Eagles. Flyers actively suck.
Yeah, but I like teams that suck.
They suck in a way that's really, really bad.
The Yankees are the only team that's
traded for
usually good
racism.
that I have. Every other team that I have sucks.
My team gave
Flyers
me hardcore
actively-
whiplash this week.
Yeah, wow.
Ugh, yep. Team Green. Right, Bing?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I will apologize. It's just a fun gag. I know.
Yeah,
I know.
messing with you.
No, I lean into it. Absolutely. Absolutely. And next season, I'll lean into it even more when you see how horrible Team Black is.
I will be I'll be really pissed if we don't get the Golden Dragons. I mean, even if it's just like Aegon's personal standard, that's fine. But like the Green Dragon thing is kind of shitty to me. But whatever.
I hope it's golden. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot cooler. I mean, so far we haven't really seen Sunfire looking all that lit. So, Anyway, so we'll see you next week for episode 11. Hope it's going to be great.
That was a great sound. That was a hilarious sound.
Yeah, we will.
Sir.
We are going to convene our various casts, the dragons and the krakens and the wolves and Blackfires, and everybody is going to, go away for a little while until there's another season or a book or something that facilitates it. So yeah, we will definitely reconvene in a year or 2 years or whatever. But yeah, we have a ton of other stuff coming. Lots of podcasts coming out. We have to catch up on Star Wars and Marvel and books, and yeah, there's lots of stuff. So it'll be great. Be good times. So yeah, one last time, everybody. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you on the other side.
Dracarys.
Rhaenyra was a pretty princess, and she was the realm's delight. And her dad did declare that she was his heir, and the Iron Throne was her birthright. But Queen Emma died in childbirth. The king soon took another wife. Now Alicent wants her son on the throne, and it's left the realm in strife. Oh, it's all kicking off between the blacks and the greens, 'cause Emma Arryn didn't have a son. Now the swords will flash and the togs will clash to the echo of a dragon song. Now Rhaenyra married Leonor, but he preferred the brown and not the pink. She had 3 strong sons, not a silver hair on one, so Harlan Strong's the sire everybody thinks. Now Alicent gave the king more children, and Aegon was the eldest son. Soon the princess and the queen became the blacks against the greens, and the dance of the dragon soon begun. Oh, it's all kicking off between the blacks and the greens, 'cause Emma Arryn didn't have a son. Now the swords will flash and the togs will clash to the echo of a dragon song. Now the king, he has a brother, the dragon rider Prince Daemon. The first wife he stoned and the second one was burned, but he wasn't left alone very long. For he is a true Targaryen, they like to keep it in the family. When not riding Syraxes, then he's riding on his niece, a rogue prince forever he shall be. Oh, it's all kicking off between the blacks and the greens, 'cause Emma Arryn didn't have a son. Now the swords will flash and the togs will clash to the echo of a dragon song. Oh, it's all kicking off between the blacks and the greens, 'cause Emma Arryn didn't have a son. Now the swords will flash and the togs will clash to the echo of a dragon song.
That's how that goes. Yeah. It was
okay,
a good run.
I need to settle. Greg wants me to settle something.
Uh-oh.
So the scene with Matt Smith Daemon in the dragon lair. What dragon is that?
Vermithor.
Was it? Was it cannibal?
Nah.
Okay, Greg thinks it's Vermithor. Is he right or is he wrong?
It's Vermithor.
Probably right.
Yeah.
Several people are agreeing with him.
I had no
I mean,
idea.
it looked bronze.
Yes, you're right.
Oh, I think I'm right. That's good to know. Bye.
It just looked big.
The cannibal
That's all
just
I
sort of
can tell.
flies around.
Just cross an arrow see and then drop the dragon and then come back.
Oh my god.
We need to throw Greg in as the bumper.
We need to throw Greg in as the bumper.
They can't hear me, can they?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Yeah, we could hear you better with a microphone, Greg.
Yeah.
Well,
the mic-
Connor, in
right?
the old days, we could hear you through your own mic. Now
Yeah.
we hear you.
Remember in the old days where we could hear you in your own mic, Michal?
What a concept.
Here, I'll
And
For
recall
us
that
now.
I mentioned that I called him book owner because it's time we brought that back.
Could we get him? Can we get a live interview with Greg?
You want a live interview? You started.
Casey's like the Baratheon Maester. She has to like translate everything.
Right?
He can't read. Is that in the book?
We're hearing from our
Uh-oh.
studio affiliate, Casey, that you're not joining us today.
Uh-oh.
What?
So it's so washed out.
This
It's
is
so hard to
compelling
hear him.
podcasting.
Yeah, it's
All right.
so hard to hear him.
Yeah.
Well, come over here. Look, it's computer.
I feel like we should have like a live commentary
Right.
now
Yeah.
from Casey.
There we go.
Yeah, That's why I said to our studio affiliate.
Yeah, as we know, podcasting works best when only one person has the microphone.
Or the headphones.
She's live on the scene with Greg right now.
Allegedly. Making him do dishes. That must be why Daemon decided to start choking people out this episode.
Right?
That was
So stupid.
like
Just
those Yankees, huh?
The Yankees.
I'm not
Oh, no.
done processing this yet. They just lost.
I really wanted the Yankees to win because I wanted the Padres to face the Yankees. It would have been fitting,
Oh, no.
but no. All
Um,
right, so let's say
Can I just-
goodnight, and then we can have
Are
more
you-
Yankee chat.
Are you all sportsing in my nerd time?
Yes, absolutely. We have one other order of business here before we go.
Oh, yes.
Casey, you finally turned 20, right? No longer a teenager.
Oh my god!
Oh, no.
It was many long years of 19. But
I
at the
wish.
request of the book owner, I believe a song is in order.
Excuse the yawns, but yeah.
Well, Greg's asleep, so
We need to wake him up to sing.
It doesn't matter.
He's
I'll
gonna
send him
join
the
us.
audio.
could somebody please translate "Happy Birthday" into High Valyrian?
Right.
There's no time
Right.
for that now, Michal. Just sing.
oh yeah.
The
Greg.
high rise.
Happy birthday.
Tone
Happy birthday.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my See, what have you done to deserve this?
I
What you
stopped
don't
singing.
realize is multi-track recording. I can just pull out all of your terrible
my
songs.
Good.
Oh, no, you gotta leave them all in.
No, I'm saying I can make it only you.
I hope I'm chosen.
No. Well, I'm like crying, so thank you.
Oh,
I'm laughing.
Love you, Casey.
Aw.
we
Happy
love you,
birthday.
Casey.
Love you, Casey.
Also, that meme that you posted, Michal, is ridiculous.
I know. Ashaya posted that on the Facebook page for History of Westeros.
Oh my gosh, it's so great. Oh,